Hello and welcome to Infamous, the audio podcast. This is Brandon, or Mutilus on Discord.
This is Parker, go by One Who Parks on Discord.
This is Aaron, I go by Treffenwood on Discord.
Welcome back to another riveting episode of Brandon's Computer Crashes. Infamous, the podcast. As usual, links in the show notes. Unfortunately, still no news. So getting into currently playing. I am very excited to try the list we talked about last week with Mephisto and Dracula. I just unfortunately have not had time to build them yet, so I haven't had time to play them. And my goal is, after the podcast is over, to slam them together and play them tomorrow, but we'll see.
Is it my turn?
Mm-hmm.
I actually was planning on continuing to play Xavier X-Men. I think it's got a lot of chops, and I'm excited to push it. I think I'm definitely going to... It's my number one trying list. However... Brandon, in his magnanimity, a generous man that he is, we had a really nice play night last Thursday. A bunch of players were playing, and he decided to bust out the cool new foil cards that they were shipped out to stores. And
I forgot about that completely.
And he set down those foil cards on my table. I was playing a new player, and he was super excited that he got Ultron 2 because he loves Ultron 2, and I was super excited because I got Iron Man 3, so the third version of Iron Man, the Shield leader, and so I feel compelled to play my new foily Iron Man.
Yeah, the two metal people from the new core set.
Yeah, so I feel very compelled, and so I built a list that was all about energy attacks and New Day. The tactics card that Human Torch plays. It seems really fun to play an all-energy shield and do just big +3 dice turns with Stark Armory and New Day. I kind of want to try to see if it works. Of course, Shield has a lot of great play, which is like Namor Zemo kind of stuff. But I feel like I want to try this New Day version and just see if it actually is possible, or does your opponent just deal with the fact that, or +3 dice not actually help you? It seems like it should. We'll see.
Well, I can tell you from experience, I've had the Stark Armory card played against me 3 times. My opponents have added a total of 1 attack die to their attack pools.
I'm actually a little worried about this. I feel like it sounds like a good idea, like it sounds really cool, but I don't think it actually works in practice. I think
it took a lot of luck for that to happen, but yeah, it was quite fun.
So, Aaron, have you ever seen this or ever seen it tried? Have you ever tried it? Like the New Day, because you played every character in the game. You said you played Human Torch, of course. Did you play it with New Day, or did you just try to put them on a board with random list? I was just curious.
I absolutely played Torch with New Day. Yes.
Did it work?
Absolutely. Why would it not work?
Yeah,
I don't know. I
believe this was around the time period that he said, "Man, Human Torch does a lot of damage if you let him."
Yeah. So the issue is you typically want to play this with a bunch of power. I don't remember all of Torch's stats. Does he charge?
I think he has charge. That sounds right.
He has hit and run.
Okay. So you want to play it.
So he can beam and then move into
beam and then
range.
Move for a better beam, and then New Day, which is great. The obvious problem is if you wait until you're flipped to have all the power to do everything, your opponent can just take you off the board after you've done that, and then you benefit his turn, but no one else. Or you try to do it earlier to make sure that you always benefit, like they daze him, but it still stays up. You just need the power to do it. So it's a tricky card. It's not just a slam and win. But yes, I have absolutely played New Day to have absolute dynamite turns with... really, it's focusing, for the way I played it, was focusing on Human Torch's turn. There were occasional benefits when Tony would go. But the primary benefit was you were always getting it on Torch's turn, which was not nothing.
So I used to think that's what it was for until I looked at Shield recently, and maybe since you got to play Torch back when you're in your quest to play everything, but they added a number of energy users. But like you said, I think people just look at this and go, I'm just going to kill Human Torch as hard as I can, as fast as I can. Now, if they daze him, it still goes off, right? Because you can't remove it because it's still on his model. Even
if you can measure range from the model, it's in effect.
Okay.
Correct.
Because Spider-Woman, the Black Widow, which is the newest one, Human Torch himself, Iron Man, Hawkeye, they can all use energy attacks, and then there's secondary energy attacks on like the Winter Soldier and Agent Venom, like they can do them. Nick Fury, they all have grenades, and so I was thinking, man, there's like a lot of ways to make energy attacks in Shield. Does this work?
Run it.
But like you said, I guess you would have to make sure you get 3 power on Torch before he flips, right? So there's a way to just stop you from doing that, which is focus down a paper thin character. Like
So
most of
you're
my
excited for Shield.
ideas, it would go really well until I played against Aaron, and Aaron goes, "I'll just kill Human Torch," and I go, "Great."
He is not hard to kill.
Is there a world in which Invincible Iron Man is your leader, and you're just doing like Namor Zemo also? Is that? Do you think he benefits them at
Absolutely.
all?
Yeah.
I think that's the norm.
It's literally a benefit to every model of the game leadership.
And he himself is just a strong 4-pointer, I think.
I think
got
he's
a pretty-
fine. I think he's a fine 4-pointer.
He's like a standard kit. Like he's definitely serviceable.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I might be tempted to play foily cards tomorrow, or I'll just keep playing Xavier. But I'm on the cusp of trying something new.
You're on the cusp.
I honestly wouldn't even look at it twice, but you gave me shiny shit, and I love shiny shit.
You know, Parker, you could just wait till you're done with Xavier.
Yeah, but that implies patience and not shiny.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like a waste of my time. Is really.
I don't know if it requires not shiny, but it. Aaron, I heard you made some modifications to your monsters list.
I did. Do you want to hear about my modifications and the tournaments I went to?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I took away all of the non-bleeding monsters because they're bad, and I'm this close to getting rid of Wolf from the list too, but he stayed in.
So currently it's Wolf and Drac.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So this is a pure Dracula list. It does not have a secondary option at all. I freely admit this is not what you would want to do from a competitive sense. Dracula shines in other lists way more than he does his own, but assume we're playing Dracula for thematic sake. I have 4 3s in the list that are pretty non-negotiable. Zemo, Cat, Scourge, and Drax. I have a 2 with Bullseye. Dracula and Werewolf are my 5s. I'm a big proponent of always having 2 4s in the list, and so I have Blade and Venom. And then the last model is Ultron Metal Tyrant.
Did you like the game you played with Ultron?
Ultron is the star of this list. Period.
Okay.
So, obviously we're playing for fun and for memes, but this is not a bad list. It still probably needs a little tweaking, but Dracula and Ultron by themselves have double bow. That's not bad.
Yeah.
Ultron also bleeds and poisons. Every single model on the list bleeds, and then Scourge and Drax benefit from bleeding. I thought it'd be really interesting to have Dracula and Blade both healing off of enemy bleeds, so putting them in the same list, and then Blade gives you a mystic attack.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give a blow-by-blow of every game, but there are a couple highlights I'd like to call out if you'll allow me.
Sure.
I would only allow it if you give me also a blow-by-blow of every game.
Okay.
No, never mind then.
Okay. I went down to Springfield, played in a
Parker,
tournament
listen.
there.
I'm the one with the metronome. You have to just sit back and listen.
You're right. You're the metronome. I get it.
I ended up going into Loki Asgard, and we played we played Mutant Extremis and Cosmic Invasion. So Senators and a D. Really fucked up. I looked at the map and I was like, there are 6 objectives you need to be standing on. So I went really wide. My opponent played 4 wide Asgard, and I thought, I've got this in the fucking bag. He decides to not worry about any of the Ds, and he just takes 4 extracts. I then go into his Loki, and he plays Giant's Blood to slow and root my Dracula and move on to a side D. I'm like, that is not cool. So somehow I'm playing 6 wide versus 4 and go down on scenario turn 1.
Wow.
He's playing the 3 standard Asgard models plus Mephisto. Turn 2, he ports Thor forward with Mephisto, and Thor dazes 3 models. Because of course he does, right? But over on
fourth Mephisto, like with the Meet My Associate thing?
Yes.
Ooh,
I don't remember why I attacked Mephisto. I think I was in my head, you don't want to burn your tokens, right? So I think he only had 1. I was like, I probably won't do it.
Your thought process was he won't spend it.
Right. Again, this is my first game against Mephisto ever. It may have been to stagger. I don't remember why I did it, but bottom line, I did. He ported Thor forward to my back D.
Yeah.
And Thor just went all hammer. But on the right hand side, my Drax owned both his Loki and his Heimdall. He just pounded the shit out of him. Because it turns out when you get extra rerolls, that helps you get extra hits, helps you get extra power, turns on your throw every turn.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just damage that you're putting through, but you're turning on more, you're unlocking more kit synergies. So I was winning the right and having the rest of my team decimated. But I think I got his Thor with Dracula. Anyway, turn 3 comes around. He has Prio. And we have the most bullshit interaction I've come across in the past 12 months. Mephisto activates with 7 power because I dazed him. We're throwing haymakers. He decides to place off of Cat to then line up a 7-die beam because he just got a Devil's Steel token from Cat onto 4 of my models.
Seems good.
I was like, yeah, this is going to hurt. And it did. He did 2 to 3 to 4 damage on 4 models and incinerated all of them. Then, can you guess what he did next?
Did he use the Devil's Due to then make one of them roll dice or something?
He has 0 power.
0 power.
He spent all 7 power he got from being dazed to do the place attack, do a damage to Cat, get a token, and then beam everyone with the 5 remaining power.
Did he play the Tempt card?
The Tempt? No, he did not.
One when you deal damage. I don't know. I don't know what he did.
He played Trickster's Boon.
Oh, that's gross.
Parker, you know what that does?
That gives somebody power immediately, right? But then they have to do something with the power, or you gain power.
You give
back
up a victory point.
Yes.
If they
So
kill someone.
Yes, he gets exactly 5 power, which is exactly the cost of a Mephisto beam. Yeah. And he pointed at Scourge and said, "I'd like to kill this person for a free victory point, please." And he beamed my now 4 incinerated models with 7 Mystic Dice again. I taunted with Scourge the attack into Black Cat, and he KO'd 3 of my models. So these 3 models, after turn 1, were dazed by Thor before they got to activate, and then dazed by Mephisto. I lost 3 models without them ever making any action after turn 1. It was insane.
Wow.
Pretty sure I lost the game. I'm just like, oh my god. However, on the right-hand side, Draxus just continues to pummel his Loki.
So you're losing the 4v2, but winning the 1v2.
Well, at this point, it's 4v1. Because his Thor has come over to help out his Loki.
Because he needs to go help against the Drax fight.
The good news is I have Prio, so I'm able to take his Thor off the board. His Thor had a middling activation this round. So I get his Thor off the board, so it's basically my Dracula and Drax against his Loki Heimdall, and then Cat and Mephisto. Cat just runs the fuck away. And Mephisto has spent it all. He's got no power, no nothing. He just gets to pick up an extract and sit on a point. So I end up pulling it out because Drax and Dracula carry the game on the right-hand side. But Mephisto and Asgard is not fucking okay.
Well, news at 11. We'll come back to that.
Okay, yeah. Holy shit. So after that fun game, I got to play against an unaffiliated Thanos I-Hulk Zemo list. That was Jeremy.
I was going to say, I could guess who did that.
Yeah, that was a super good game. Hammers and demons, and I could not afford to go pick up a single fucking hammer. Because he's got Thanos and I-Hulk. Any person I send to pick up a hammer dies. So all of a sudden I'm playing, 5 wide at 18 versus his 3 wide list, going down on scenario again, because if I even think about sniffing extracts, he just kills me. So a really good game. I won by 2. And then I go into Loki Asgard again, round 3, and he was super aggressive in my chili, and I used bows like you wouldn't believe, and I just kept making it to where Bill and Thor 2 were never in the proper position at the top of a turn to play Brothers in Arms. And I just...
he took Brothers in Arms.
Oh, yeah. He played Researcher, Brother in Arms, and we drew Researcher.
Ooh,
I was slamming my head on the ground. Yeah.
Haley's in a brace.
Yeah, sure. So I basically double bowed his Thor every turn.
Yeah.
And I was able to focus fire his models to get really an attrition win against Asgard, which was interesting. Anyway, so double Asgard and Thor I-Hulk. The next day, I drive 5 hours up to Des Moines, and we get to play Dracula again. The exact same list. And round 1, I played Red Skull in Hydra. Nothing significant. Round 2, I need to give props to Gar from Muse. He's running Wide Weapon X. That is a good fucking list. When you have 6 3-pointers and they're all the exact fucking same. So I've got 1 super attack. It really doesn't fucking matter who I take out. He's got 5 people who are just gonna attack me back.
Mm-hmm.
I pulled. Go ahead.
Did the Hydra player have Strucker?
They had Strucker in their list. They chose to play Red Skull 2.
Okay. I'm just curious how the Strucker into Dracula leadership would have gone.
Yeah, Strucker is not bad into Dracula. I played that once.
Yeah.
The prior weekend.
Okay.
He's like, no, you have a bleed.
How about you take this bleed and I'll heal the damage you did? And you're like, don't do that. Why are you doing that?
Yeah, there's a lot of hard counters to Dracula.
I'll give you the blood back. Like, you take the blood. No, I want the blood.
Gar probably wins this game if he doesn't forget. He made a couple a bonehead move and forgot he had sacrifice and when to play it. But I got super lucky by one-shotting his Weapon X on his backside with the Dracula Spender. I ended up tabling his.
That doesn't sound that lucky. Isn't he supposed to kill him? Or he just had to...
It's probably a coin flip.
Yeah.
Right? 8 dice, full rerolls into, let's call it 2. I still have to do 5 damage.
Yeah.
How many times do you roll 8 dice and don't get 5 damage?
Well, I mean, 8 dice with full mods should get almost 7 hits. That means he's probably having to block at least 1 to even have a chance at living.
I'm just saying it was non-zero, and if I leave him on 1, I probably die.
For sure. No, that's the downside. You're punished for failing so hard.
Yep.
So yeah, that makes sense.
But he had just flipped and had a shit ton of power, and I had to remove him.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
This was the only game I played Werewolf, and he was still kind of a liability. Like, Fury looked at him, and he just melted. Gar played Fury without Eye in the Sky, and that really intrigued me. Because Fury, with all the power in the world to make grunts and then Spender basically every turn, because the Spender is essentially free when the grunts are helping to power it as they do their attacks. That's a lot of fucking damage.
I've never been a fan of Eye in the Sky. I understand that it's like a powerful mechanic, but if you know that they have it and you're prepared, I don't think it really hurts you that much. It always seems like a huge tax that, I don't know, it never seemed worth it to me.
Yep, so that was a really great game into Gar. Just got lucky with the table. Then I played into Convocation, and I think my list specifically was pretty good into Convocation with Ultron and Dracula. I had there are a bunch of 2 Mystic Defense models I have, and I had to take one of them just based on the amount that I had. But when you've got, I think that was a game I used Blade for his Mystic Defenses. So when you're talking about Blade, Dracula, Ultron, that's not too bad. So I pulled that one out, and then I played into Midnight Suns I-Hulk with the last game, and it was just keeping control of I-Hulk. I used Venom this game to bring a mummy in from the center line, turn 1. And then I used Dracula to bring him in more. He was standing behind my deployment line when he died turn 1.
Yeah, that's right.
Then he attacked back turn 2, and I lethal protected. And I left him on 1, but healed all the damage to full on We Are Venom.
Yeah.
Now, despite the fact that I did KO his mummy top of 2, it was still very much a game, because I-Hulk can just take a game on his shoulders and be like, what if I daze 2 of your models, including Dracula? After I played Brace in that activation, I was like, it was insane. Whatever. He played Siege. He had to play Siege to kill Dracula, but he did.
Hulk is 80% of CGR. He'll just decide to kill your whole team by himself sometimes.
Yep. So I just had to double bow him out again and just keep him on 13 health, and I killed him on the 1 turn that mattered to pick up extracts, and I just scored it out. But it was definitely not a gimme, right? I-Hulk was super fucking scary. So after all of that, my takeaways with Dracula are fun. Dracula the model is super fun to play. The leadership is 80% horseshit, and they really, really, really should have changed the leadership to add enemy models lose immunity to bleed.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know if I like that, but
they absolutely should have.
It should have had an effect if they are immune to bleed. It's apply bleed, or if they already have bleed or are immune to bleed, you heal 1.
I still think I'd rather just make him.
I just think there's game mechanic reasons you can't start taking immunities away from people. It's a bad precedent to put in a game, I think. Now, I don't know there's a specific example where it causes a noticeable problem. In general, you shouldn't be taking abilities off of people that make them immune to things. It's just really weird.
I mean, I understand where you're coming from. I'm just saying, the leadership, twice going into, bleed immune models. Like, well, this is like nothing. Even I would say I trigger leadership about 3 to 6 times every game, which is a really low amount of times to trigger a leadership. When you figure Hellfire does that every turn. Or round, rather.
No,
right?
sure.
Every
I'm not
round,
saying the leadership
you
is
get
good.
5 leadership triggers.
Yeah. I'm totally for the leadership
yeah.
being better. I just don't want it to remove immunities.
And I'm okay with it being bad, right? For a leadership that you can take anyone you want, needs to be subpar. It is just below subpar enough that it is really bad. It is cute. It is not useless. Like when Dracula can bleed someone with his builder, bleed someone with a spender, and then choose to pay one to bleed, and then get all that power back at the end. Like there are some definite synergies, but it is way low on the power scale. And for some opponents' builds to just completely turn it off.
A lot of times when they don't even care to, they're not even trying. It's like, whoops, I took like Ultron and Bill and
Ghost Rider,
Luke Cage, and you're like, oops, my whole list is immune to bleed.
Played into the Mummy, nope. Played into Bill, nope. Colossus, nope. APOC, nope. There's so many models that are really good and in play right now that are not specifically anti-Dracula.
Yeah.
But they're in their list. You're like, I guess I just don't have leadership.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my 2 cents. Is Dracula is not top tier competitive. The model is super fun, and I'm going to continue to iterate on the list for a little while.
Yeah, there definitely could have been a different thing to do with leadership. Like instead of you giving bleed to other people, you choose none within one, and you gain a blood token, which then gives you a bonus of some kind. Like they could have gone a lot of different ways with it. But yeah. Alrighty, so let's go move us into our main topic today. We are going to talk about, like we did last week, the other new release models. We have Mephisto, Wrecking Crew, and Abomination. We are all going to talk about different ways, or different places we're excited to try them in, or where we think they would be good. Do you guys particularly want to go first?
I just talked a lot. I do not want to go first.
I will go, I guess, unless Parker wants to go.
Go ahead. I'm actually really excited to talk about yours. I think yours.
Yeah, I know. I got the fun one twice, so I'm pretty. Yeah, it's not fair, but
Showrunner.
So I looked at this for a while today, and I was trying to come up with something unique as to where, like, specifically he needs to go, and then the way Aaron approached it last week kind of had me thinking.
Could you define who we're talking about first?
Mephisto. I guess, the people at home don't know. I said the fun one. Obviously, the fun one is Mephisto. So, funnily enough, I was trying to think of the way Aaron talked about the way he looked at it last week was like, what kind of things the character wants. And the way I looked at it is, I think Mephisto wants to play in a team that wants to play for the long game. And what I mean by that is he wants a strategy that's going to be, they're not going to run out of gas throughout the game, because that's when he's the best. He doesn't want the game to end before he's gotten to do what he wants. And so initially when I started thinking about that, I started thinking of Asgard. Asgard has a decent amount of staying power, and specifically with what? Why are you mad?
I don't want to see Mephisto and Asgard ever fucking again.
Exactly. And so
just fucking
let me finish real quick. So initially I had gone to Thor 1 because Thor giving the healing every turn and having access to other stuff. It's got a lot of other stout models. And then I was thinking, what if I could force people to attack other people? And so immediately the Loki 2 Thor 2 combo popped into my head. And so I was like, well, if you attack Mephisto, I'm going to put it on Thor. Thor's going to counterstrike you. Then Loki's going to skull damage you. And the whole list is this tight little package that works really well. Now, until Aaron gave his battle reports, I totally forgot Trickster's Boon was a card. And I was like, you know what? That is sound really good. We should put that in there. So that guy's definitely onto something here. But that was just one of the thoughts I had. Mephisto is clearly, is almost a list unto himself. Any list you put him in feels like you're trying to build the list around him. I do think he can just work as a drop-in. If you're just like, hey, I'm looking for a random, 10th model, who can I put in here? There's some lists he'll work in, but nothing specific. I didn't notice initially any leaderships that really help him, except for maybe one of the more support-heavy ones. I don't know. There's just so many options in the list. Obviously, the thing I'm most excited to try is still the list from last week, which had Mephisto in it. So that's another strong one as well.
Remind us, is that the Cabal one you're looking at? Or
that's the Cabal with Dracula, yeah. I think Dracula, Mephisto in Cabal, I think has a lot of good synergies. But yeah, I think the Devils do, with you roll dice to do stuff, I think that's a huge trap. you're only ever going to do it when you're already up against the wall on like, well, I'm about to do an Infernal Bargain attack, and so I'm going to waste this token anyway, is the kinds of times you're going to end up doing it. It's not going to be like an important aspect of his game. Based on the conversation I've had with Ryan, he also said that, Mephisto doesn't have trouble getting power outside of doing his spender attack, which costs 5. What does he ever need power for? But yeah, I don't know. I've tried to think about this a lot of different ways. Obviously, you want somebody who's going to be able to help protect him. He kind of does that on his own if he's getting enough tokens. I initially, for a brief period, thought about trying to try him in A-Force, so that way you just have She-Hulk just there to bodyguard for him whenever you need, but I just didn't think it'd be good. It's too expensive. Mm-hmm. What do you guys think? Obviously, the Asgard has legs, because, Aaron experienced it. It's got boots for kicking.
I feel like Mephisto is unlike a lot of characters in the game that are kind of affiliation and leadership synergistic. Like that's how, like at least where my brain goes to first is I think about the leadership that's going to benefit him the most. I feel like Mephisto, in kind of alluding to what you said before, where he seems like a build around character. He influences your whole list because he doesn't necessarily need leadership. What he wants are specific characters around him that are going to let him do his thing better. I think the characters that's surrounded with that you're really going to appreciate are ones that you don't want to attack because it's actively bad for you. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like his ability to grab characters, put them next to him, and then shunt the attack is so amazing. So characters like Sabretooth 1, if you like the attack back, or Sabretooth 2, because he has a deep health pool and you don't want to give him power. Being able to control when your opponent attacks your list is such a huge deal. So surrounding him with characters that are low mobility, but high power to damage or power to affect output, I think it's going to feel great. So
can I jump in here?
Yeah, go for it.
So part of what you're saying I really, really agree with. I think the important thing to note that because his bodyguard thing costs more than power, it's very expensive for him to use with the tokens. One of the things I had thought about was when you're thinking about models to bring with him, obviously we initially jumped to, the Thor 2s, the Venoms, the Sabretooths, the people that can punish them for attacking immediately is great. But also you might want to think about bringing a defensive model. Like what if you bring up Colossus? What if you bring up Black Dwarf? People that can taunt for you. And when you drop what you're simultaneously fixing the I'm getting attacked too much problem by bringing in somebody who can immediately bodyguard. You can also bring in Black Dwarf, you're immediately fixing his movement problem. And so it's kind of a double-edged sword there. So I think that'd be a fun combo. And both these models have 6 dice base attacks, and so you're kind of chunking people with them. And he can kind of just teleport himself with his how can be of service, and then also when you go to attack him back, bringing Black Dwarf up with him. So they kind of fixes both of their movement problems by himself, which is really, really cool. And then obviously, I think another leadership that would be good for him for the long game that we kind of talked about is Hellfire Club. Just because you got more healing, more power, it tends to draw out a little bit. I know the go-to for a long time had been play Scenario Team with Hellfire Club. But I think going back to maybe a healing factor style Brawly list with Mephisto dropped in could be really cool.
Even though he does have... Oh, good, Aaron.
I think he could be a viable splash anywhere. Like I don't necessarily think you have to build around him. If I look at this character's weaknesses, which is where I want to shore up, right? Either there are specific synergies, which I don't see hugely. I'll give credence to both what you guys have said. But I wonder if Storm would be a good fit. X-Men always like to have 1/5 threat splash. What if he got to hop and then Infernal Bargain and then Hellfire Lash and Hellfire Lash again? I mean, you realize how hard you are punishing the middle?
I would like to raise you just triple Infernal Bargain on the first turn.
That is also not fucking wrong. Yes. You could triple Infernal Bargain, go to 3 Devil Steel tokens. You start next turn with, at that point, 4 power?
Well, it caps at 3, but yeah, so you would... you start with 2 power because he starts with 1 token. You place, go to 0 power, and then you do 2 bargains if they both do damage, and then 3 if one of them fails to do damage. Or if you just want to spend one of those tokens at one point, you just wouldn't have any power to do it. So yeah, if you get to 3 power, he'll have 3 tokens of 3 power on the second turn. Or if he lands on an objective and you're playing Hellfire Club, you need 4 power.
Well, no, so if he ends the turn with, I guess it'll cost 1. Yeah, you're right.
The problem is, if you use Storm, it costs a power, so then he can't immediately.
So yeah, you'll have a maximum of.
Well, it's almost worse than that because you'd have to do his gainer, and I guess
you can only bargain twice.
You land in range 3.
Yeah, it's impossible to bargain and then kind of be a service.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just going to bargain twice.
The problem is Stormhawk costing a power. You could just play him in many other
hold on. No, you'll have 4 power because you start with a Devil's Deal token, right?
Yeah, so he starts with 2.
He'll gain up to 3, which means he will power up for 4 on the next turn. Meaning you could Hellfire Lash for your 5th power and then start the turn with a Beam 9.
Hold on. So what are you doing? You're storm hopping?
Yep, down to 0.
And then you're moving to the point?
Because the place is
because you're not on the point. Yeah, that's the problem. Is that your place is 2 cost and Storm is 1, so you don't have 3 power. So if you wanted to do all that, you could just play Lockjaw, like just play in Inhumans, or just take Lockjaw as well.
Sure, and you could double Hellfire Lash, get the 2 power, and then Can I Be of Service?
You could also play in Convocation, and you could Scalpel him. You could play in Red Skull 3 and Bow to the Will or whatever that thing's called.
Yeah, but in order to get up, none of them are going to put him on the middle, right?
Sure. So I think the ideal would be you would Storm Hop, Lash, go back to 2 power, then place, do the Infernal Bargain, and then second action hit with Infernal Bargain again.
Assuming Lash only gets you to 1 power.
But it only costs 1 to Storm Hop. You only need to get 1 power refunded to do his...
Because he starts with 2.
He starts with 2.
Got it. Yep. Anyway, there's some combination there where I think it makes a lot of sense to get him up the field quickly. Sure. And like you said, there are a lot of different ways you can do that. Storm just immediately came to mind as an affiliation that likes to have a brawly type character, which I think he is. At 3/4 4 with 7 with Meet My Associate means he's probably not going to get 1 rounded like with Prio or when your opponent has Prio.
I think the big thing is Meet My Associate only costs 1 power, so if you do have 3 tokens, you can just it's kind of like when exceptional healing used to be in the meta. You can just say you're not going to kill me in 1 activation. It's just not going to happen, right? Because I have 7 hit points. You're not going to kill me with throws, and I'm going to just shunt every attack you try to put into me. And so you're going to have to let me live through the turn. And then you could combo that potentially with survival, and then get him to live several turns into a round, which could be really good.
Yep.
I have a question before we slide off him, if we're ready to.
Yeah.
I think the 2 cards that are serious contenders are Brand New Day and Up the Ante. I think Embrace the Inferno is probably just terrible. So between those 2, are either of those ever windmill slams? Are you ever really excited to play them?
Up the Ante should be played in every single list that he's in.
I'm going to hard disagree. Card to be fucking banned.
Oh, that's
what's bullshit is when your opponent
plays a card.
When your opponent plays a card and clocks to you after every attack, and then you're like,
"I'm never going to lose to Parker again."
No, back to you.
Oh yeah,
it's never going to happen.
We had a great time playing the game. Like we were laughing about it, but in a competitive sense, that's fucking bullshit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could just accept it once.
Sure.
Just choose the other option, and he doesn't get to do that anymore.
There are times when you will, but for the most part...
There's times you will just because you're annoyed.
I don't know about that.
You're playing the long game. But yeah. No, I think Up the Ante is almost required reading. Like, it's going to be in the list.
Yep. Okay. Embrace is
horrible.
The cool thing...
Yeah, you think Embrace is horrible? Is that the Undays?
No, that's the...
No, sorry. Yeah, the reroll one. That's terrible.
That's terrible.
Only Parker likes that card.
No, I because I didn't read it the first time. Brand New Day... is the other one that is that I was curious.
Yeah. That one is also interesting, but I think of the 2, it's more cuttable. Just because I don't think they're ever going to choose the good option for you. And also I think it costs like 3 power.
It costs nothing. But
it is nothing
but it's when an enemy character is dazed or KO'd, so it's just the triggers are a lot less often.
So. Right, it's less often, but also there's going to be times when you don't want to give them the choice because they're both not great for you. And the Up the Ante is just so free that it's always good.
Okay. I was just
I
curious
need
what
to
you guys thought.
play into Brand New Day. It seems like an auto include.
Yeah.
However,
I think they both make the 10.
I'm actually really concerned with the first one, the first option on Brand New Day, removing the activated token from an allied character, which is not optional. So you are potentially giving up prio. I don't know if you guys watched the TTS top 4 game Zach was in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doubting it.
How does that work?
I could not.
You should. I recommend watching it on fast forward or whatnot if you want to, but I'm sure you can find the link. His opponent. So, spoiler: Zach won the game.
God damn it! I was waiting to see. All right,
because his opponent attacked someone he shouldn't have and flipped prio back to Zach, who was able to activate a 1 health Red Skull to daze a Bill to pick his objective up and sit on a point. If Bill goes first, Red Skull's dead.
Dies, yeah.
Bill has the extract and is on the point. Like, it is such a swing.
Massive swing, yeah.
Yeah, so I was watching it live, quote unquote live, because it was pre-recorded. But people were responding in real time. I was like, wait, did he just give up prio? WTF? Like, what? And I could not believe what just happened. Because Zach was so disadvantaged up until this point, and I'm like, ooh, Zach's back in this. And then M'Baku put the entire game on his shoulders. But, yeah, so this card, which says a bunch of good shit happens, but you lose prio, that's a really, really, really big but.
Well, hold on. Well, that's only if you don't kill the person that you had just dazed, right?
The enemy gets to choose.
So the effect is enemy character is not dazed or KO'd, removes all conditions, and up to 1 activated token. And then Mephisto gains 2 Devil Deal tokens and removes an activated token from any allied character. So yeah, they can choose to leave their guy activated, but you must unactivate one of yours.
Correct. Anyway,
Yeah,
it's theoretically a really good thing. Right, double
you just kill them
awesome.
now instead of next turn.
Sure.
Yeah,
you may do it first. Like, kill him with your first action. He's like, great, you can heal. Don't give a shit. I'm still going to kill you. And the person might still choose that option because Mephisto's like on 1 health. And you're like, there's no way you get to remove 6 damage. Like, I can't allow that.
Yeah.
So anyway, I would definitely take and play Brand New Day, but I think there are times when playing it would be wrong.
Yeah, there's definitely less great times to play it than the other card, which is every single time. The other card, like, the joke is I can play it every time, but, like, you actually wouldn't because they would just immediately choose the first option, right? No, I'm reading the wrong card again. Hold on. Would deal damage. Does not deal damage. The character loses that much power instead for the remainder of the game. Mephisto. Okay, so that one is bad, and then the other one is may remove the activated token. Yeah. So you're just like, yeah, go ahead and activate him again. He's got no power and he's out of position. You're like, whatever.
Or he might not be out of power, out of position.
Or you just give up prio because they're like, would you like to remove the activated token? And you're like, no. Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I agree. That one is unanimously good every time you play it. There's never a time that gets played and you're like, shit, why'd I play that?
No. There are absolutely times when you would not want to play it. For instance, I spike your fucking super character off the board. I play this. You're like, yeah, I will take an activation with my character I needed. Like,
will be of 0 power.
It might not matter, depending on the game state.
Devil's Deal tokens that I didn't have before. Sure, there's weird examples, but
right. There may be times when me taking 7 damage off the board is really bad.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there are definitely some attacks you do not want to play this.
I just would be willing to bet the number of times per game that you theoretically could play this card and shouldn't is like less than 3.
I was going to say 2 to 3. 2 to 3 is the correct answer.
The other card is probably half.
Yep.
It's like, no, I finally dazed your guy. You're like, oh, okay, I'll just choose to live. And you're like, yeah, that was stupid. Like, there's just most of the time when you daze someone, you don't want to trigger that. It's not worth the 2 tokens or whatever. Anyway.
Oh, I have a question about this card.
Which one? New Day or Up the Ante?
Up the Ante.
What is your question?
I'm pretty sure it's evident.
Is this the one we talked about before?
No. Says when an allied character would deal damage to an enemy character with an attack, play the card, blah, 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 blah. How much damage are you attempting to do? Because an enemy character can never take more damage than it has hit points remaining. But I could roll, say, 7 hits, right? I could say, I'm doing 7 damage to you. You have 4 hit points left.
So
do you lose 7 power or 4 power?
So this is before damage is dealt, so it's before the apply damage step. the attack does not deal damage. Yeah, you would be the total. It would be after math calculation, but before damage is applied. So I'm pretty sure your current health is irrelevant.
That's not what I expect the answer to be.
Really? I mean, effectively, both of the cards say don't daze your model, just one happens after the fact.
Well, there's a big difference. If I have 2 health left and you do 8 damage, do I lose 8 power or 2 power? That's a huge difference.
I'll pull up the rulebook real quick. I'm pretty sure that it doesn't matter. It's the full amount. Rules, core rulebook.
So the only way it's a question in my mind is the first sentence. When another allied character would deal damage to an enemy character with an attack.
Mm-hmm. Character damage. This is not a very long rulebook. See, page 16 of the 40k rulebook doesn't even get you past the epilogue.
The intro,
yeah. It's like, where's the trade rules, page 275? And you're like, what? Alright. Character's damage, place number of damage tokens on the stack card. Excess damage. A character can't have more damage dealt to it than its remaining stamina. That means if the attack would do 5 damage, but the character only has 3 stamina remaining, the attack deals 3 damage, not 5. But this is before a character would suffer damage. Yeah, so the way this is phrased, it says the attack deals 3 damage, not 5. But this is like after everything, and you're actually applying the damage. Because Up the Ante says would deal damage, I would say that you have not yet calculated the remaining stamina. And you're still in the calculate successes step of the attack. Let me go to attacks just to confirm. Calculate and compare successes, resolve effects that occur before damage, apply damage, and remove the attack. Calculate successes. The defender's total is greater than or equal to the number of attackers. The suffers 0 damage. No effects. Alright. If the attack still has more successes remaining than compared to the defender's successes, resolve any effects that trigger before damage is dealt. Then the defending player adds damage tokens to their stat card. Yeah, I still think this triggers before you calculate stamina.
Okay.
Because it says if would suffer damage, that is the apply damage step. And the first thing it says is like you resolve any effects that trigger before damage is dealt. That's before you apply damage tokens. And when it says when applying damage tokens, you can't take more than you have. I mean, I could see them ruling it the other way.
There is a ruling.
Well, I'm sure there is. I'm sure it's just somebody flipped a coin.
You are correct.
Well, I know I'm correct. Their coin flip happened to match what I said. I shouldn't feel good about that.
It is equal to the calculated damage total, not the amount of damage they could suffer due to their stamina. So yeah, that's interesting and probably pertinent at some point.
It's extremely so, or else if you had somebody at 1 hit point, this card is fucking worthless.
Well, it's not worthless because they could take it. Yes,
right.
Yes, they only take one.
You would do it.
They only take one power, but they also give you a bunch of tokens. Yeah, so it's not like it does incentivize them to take it if you only do one damage.
But that's the best time to do it, right? Because I'm only losing 1 power, and I'm preventing one of my models from being dazed, and it's the same effect as if I had stopped 8 damage and gained 8 and lost, 8 power.
Right.
So I don't know. It just seems like the worst time as the attacking player to play the cards when you're only going to make them lose 1 power.
Yeah.
But you're going to gain tokens and go up
and
to 5
we know they're dead. Like there's gonna be a lot of times you play it's like I did 3 of your 5. Would you like to lose 3 power or take 3 damage?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
and the fact that they're also not suffering damage means that it's actually double that. Because if you would suffer 4, you were going to gain 4 instead. You're going to lose 4. It's an 8 power swing. That's going to really affect decisions you can make during your turn.
Yeah. Again, you only do this rarely.
Yeah.
As the person receiving the card.
Not to mention, it's you've got, let's say... Like,
Black Cat has 2 extracts and is running away, and your opponent plays the card, you're like, yeah, thanks, I don't need power.
Exactly. I'm just trying to think of a really good example here. Oh, I shoot Namor, who's sitting on 3. I would do 2. Would you like to lose power instead? You're like, no, I literally don't have a choice here. I have to be able to charge on my turn. You're like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And now I'll just activate Mephisto again and kill you.
So... does this apply? It does before DR, right?
Yeah, would suffer damage. It happens at the same time you're the attacker.
So it's basically my hits minus blocks stop everything else.
Mm-hmm.
That's how much power you lose. Okay.
Now, they're still making the decision, and
Sure.
so, yeah, they don't get to DR before the power loss, correct.
Right. I just want to make sure the rules are understood
Yeah.
before it comes
They
up in
then
the game.
more than likely wouldn't have power to prevent power loss later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to Helios Laser you for 17. Up the ante. What? Lose 17 power, idiot. You're like, yeah, I'm the idiot here. I just spent 30 power so you can lose 17.
Brandon, you know when you Helios was for 17 dice, you only roll 4 hits. You know this.
No, that was 17 damage. I assume my Helios for 30.
Oh, okay. Got it. You Helios for 30. Yeah. Perfect.
I'm not sure that DR doesn't apply.
Here, let me see. Yeah, it would, because they trigger at the same time. Both effects are if you would suffer damage, and the attacker effects go first. And so it's your option to play the card. Do you resolve the card, then it would be their option to use damage reduction.
Okay.
Just like dice bonds.
Okay.
But yeah, I think we've probably talked enough about Mephisto. In summary, my favorite places are, you have to have somebody to protect him. That can be a lot of different things. Either through a deterrent with like Sabretooth or Venom, being shunting to those people, or Dracula's another good option, obviously. Choosing to bring up a protector person like Black Dwarf or a bodyguard or Colossus, somebody like that. And then I want to play him somewhere that has a little bit of staying power, like Asgard or Hellfire Club. And then my last week was to play him super aggressive in Cabal with Red Skull and Dracula. So those are my 3 options. I want to hear what you guys have. We've got Abomination still and Wrecking Crew.
You want to go to next, Aaron, or you want to pass to me?
Pass to you, Parker. I want to hear your sexy voice.
Okay.
Sultry and sexy.
My dulcet tones will illuminate the Wrecking Crew. I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like the Wrecking Crew is a real open and shut case. They have a really complete package. Like, everything they do really works. Unlike some other characters that need to be enabled, like desperately need enabling with like power or rerolls or movement. They do everything they want to do with a little bit of greasing. So basically, where you put them is just going to grease them in one direction or another. But man, they are just a really complete package. For anybody who looked at the card and couldn't see it, they're all about starting their turn, doing all 3 of their attacks with "Let's take them down, boys," and through that, and the fact that they get initial power at the beginning of the turn, you can count on them to be able to do all 3. If they get their hit trigger on their first attack, the Indestructible, the wild trigger on their second attack, the Pile Driver, and then when they hit the Wrecking Bar Fling, their final attack, it will do a throw on top of stun and stagger. So it just wrecks an individual. They're really good at pinning that one down. But Wrecking Bar Fling is also a beam. So I think there's really 2 ways to grease them. One way is to make sure they're in position. That you don't have to have a positional leadership to do this, because they also have Bulldoze, which is a push medium similar to Juggernaut. It destroys terrain in the way. It costs 3, however. So playing them in affiliation that can pass them 1 power or discount this power by 1 is prudent. But they're very self-sufficient after that, because Indestructible and Pile Driver, only Indestructible gives you a power. Pile Driver gives you none. So I think the place, if you want to have your cake and eat it too, like if you want to be bulldozing and the full "Let's take 'em down, boys," if you want to do the whole combo every turn, I think their own affiliation Cabal with Red Skull 2 makes some sense, because you're likely going to be able to do all 3 of their attacks because you'll have enough power if you're doing damage. Yes?
Red Skull 2 doesn't have a Cabal leadership.
I'm sorry, did I see 2? I'm sorry, just said the number wrong. Red Skull 1.
That makes way more sense. Okay, continue.
So I think
very confused.
I think Red Skull 1 really greases the wheels for them a lot. Also giving them, rerolls with things like Dark Rain on all those attacks. They're going to get use out of him. They have, gainers with beams, which is one of the things Red Skull has always classically liked. So I think he's gonna turn them on and give them a lot. They're hitting since they're already in Cabal, it's a natural fit. So I think that's probably a great spot to put them in. The other way I saw greasing their wheels is just kind of not worry about power so much and understand you're going to sacrifice some tempo because they're not going to be able to push themselves around as often in the early turn. But if you want to play them, another affiliation they're affiliated with is Criminals, and you could play them with something like Shadowlands Daredevil to just give them a lot of passive re-rolling so that the multitude of attacks they're taking are constantly getting re-rolls to try to stick the hits and the wilds, and eventually the throws. They seem really obnoxious and very, very high damage ceiling if they just have the ability to roll lots of dice and stand there and just keep rolling lots of dice. So an affiliation that's going to let them get a little bit better on those dice rolls is just going to be that much better. I think the ones like Guardians are going to be less strong because you probably don't want to fix just one dice roll. You want to be able to get the full value out of so many dice rolls they're going to be doing over the course of a turn. So I think like Shadowlands Daredevil makes a lot of sense. But those are the two leaders I saw them with. I don't see them having fantastic combos with other individual characters because they're incredibly self-sufficient. It's just, do you want a 4-coster that's going to be doing a lot of attacks and effects and throws with attacks? It's very self-sufficiently. Then you're going to like the Wrecking Crew, I think. That's my synopsis.
So, did you consider them all in Brotherhood with Mags?
I did think Brotherhood, the word is cute. I don't think it's like, the problem with Brotherhood, I guess, is that I was looking at other 4-costers, for
they
players.
Have a lot of good fours.
Yeah. And specifically in Criminals, they don't have fantastic 4s that do what these guys do in Criminals.
They just have an awesome 4 that does exactly what these guys do.
Who?
Rhino. I was just kidding.
Oh,
he literally does the same slide. That was the joke.
Oh, the slide, yes.
Slide. He does the slide. He has a range 3 attack. It was a joke.
But he's more similar to Juggernaut.
Again, it was a joke. They're not the same model.
Right.
But the reason I was looking at them for Brotherhood was they play very well with the turn 1 Magneto jank. And so Mags can either set them up himself by just destroying a size 1 and handing them a power, basically. You can also have Jugs, who also has a slide, and they can kind of play off each other. And so you can give them a power, which they'll then immediately use to slide, which will then break something, which will then give a power back to somebody else or themselves. Mm-hmm. And so you can kind of start the whole chain much sooner.
Yeah.
And so obviously if you're just wanting the tempo part, you could pass them a power with Mag's leadership. They slide, they get one for the break on the slide. Then you can immediately do like the Indestructible or the Wrecking Bar Fling and get the rest of the power you need to then do the other one. And so there's a lot of cool stuff they can do. Mm. But again, and then you've got the leadership to give them cover, which is nice. But all it's really giving to Magneto is a 4-point version of Juggernaut. And so it's not really the same.
And they specifically have a glass jaw. They're not like Juggernaut because they can't take any punishment.
Well, they have decent stat line and a decent amount of health for a 4-pointer. Not great, just okay.
But then they're very average.
They're slightly above average, I would say, but it's definitely in that average band. But the big thing for me is once you throw cover on top of it with Magneto, they actually become fairly tough. Mm-hmm. Because when you're effectively blocking 2 on every attack with 6 hit points and decent defense dice, like. It gets a little bit better, but they will die. They're not tanks.
Right.
You're exactly right in that respect. But the cool thing is that they're very mobile.
I am doing something very dirty right now.
Oh, yeah?
Can you guess what it is?
I don't want to. I think my mind goes to dirtier places.
Wow, yeah, I went straight to something super bad. I cannot say it on this podcast. Go ahead, Aaron. Tell me what you are thinking.
I'm searching on the MCP rules for him right now. Mm. This is about the dirtiest thing I could be doing on a Wednesday evening. It has revealed one nugget of super weird and interesting rules interactions. Can I be of service? Can be played to move a dazed character forward.
You mean meet my assistant?
Sure, yeah.
Hold on, are we
Is
back
that
on, are we
because
back
the
on Mephisto
terminology
for a
doesn't
second?
say
Is that what's
target,
happening?
it says choose?
Yes.
Okay.
Doesn't it say a dazed model can't be placed in
Does
the
not.
core rules? It does not.
Apparently not.
This is exactly why I ignore people that quote the rules forums.
I know. So you cannot throw a dazed model. Why can I not throw a dazed model, but I can choose to place them via this superpower?
It's just same thing with the Storm Hop. It's absolutely idiotic and shouldn't work. But it's just like a loophole. They didn't specifically put that word in the block of text, so it works.
So I can understand the Storm Hop. The model exists. Can you measure off of it? Yes. Right? It exists. All it has to do is exist, and I can hop over it. Sure. Dracula's leadership works on dazed models.
No, hold on, because you can't be chosen as a target for a ability or power or any of that stuff. So it's because they didn't put the word target ally, and it says choose ally instead, is the reason it works.
Yeah.
And so if we're saying that that's okay, and that's rules as intended, and then that's fine, but then you can't then also complain about books. You don't get to do both. It's either it's stupid and abusive, or it's not.
And I'm sure
fine with either. We just need to pick a lane.
I'm not sure it's ever worth it to spend a Devil's Due token to move a model up next to you. Maybe it is.
You say that till that dazed model is like, for
Hulk.
example, Human Torch with his card played, or Grand Illusion on Mysterio, Magneto with cover. Like, it isn't till it fucking is.
Yeah, I'm with you. And just for everyone, I think this is known, but Dracula's leadership does work on dazed models. You cannot apply bleed to them, but you can suck their dead corpse dry if they were bleeding to heal.
Now, see,
Yeah.
that
also makes no sense.
no. See that not only makes perfect sense,
because it's
but
thematic.
because it makes exactly what you want it to be.
So why can't I unload my rifle into the dead body next to me?
No.
And get more power?
You can't kick them.
Well,
when
I
they're
can't
down.
into a live person.
You can't kick them when they're down. That's a card that's been banned.
Oh, when they're down is banned.
You
so
can't,
we can't shoot
but
dead
you
people.
can't. This is not NFL Blitz where you can just keep landing on people. This is, but absolutely you get to bend over and suck blood. That absolutely is something you get to do.
Multiple times this weekend, I had to ask my opponents not to remove all the conditions from their models as I daze them.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Because they still count as being bloody models.
They are still bleeding until cleanup phase, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so is the wrecking
quite a while into the cleanup phase even?
Yeah.
For the sake of time, is the wrecking crew pretty open and shut case? Is it?
I think it's pretty obvious what they do.
Yeah.
They're an economy machine, and you're going to either play it or you're not.
Mm-hmm.
If you want a model that can make 4 actions a turn reliably, you should play Wrecking Crew. If you don't, you should play something else.
Crazy little posit here. I'm gonna drop a little dime of what I think will happen. I don't think we're gonna see these guys very often. I think
the Wrecking Crew.
Yeah, I don't think people are gonna reach for them. I don't think they have the juice that people are excited to play with. I think people are going to look at their 4 slot and find these guys not strong enough for it. I think they're wrong, but I think they're absolutely a 4 slot character. But I have a feeling that people are not going to reach for them because they're not. For the same reason that people don't reach for Crystal, even though Crystal is a very similar package in the 3-point package, but people don't reach for her because they don't like what she does. It just doesn't seem useful. I think these guys are going to be very similar. I think we won't see them.
Same problem. They both just fucking die.
Yeah.
Crystal's survivability and these guys' survivability is different. I get they're more expensive, but they're definitely beefier.
Actually, really? She technically has better defenses than they do. And if not better than, she's 3s with a reroll.
She's 3s with 1 reroll, and they're 4-3-4.
Yeah,
that's better.
4 is technically better than 3 with a reroll, but barely.
But also they get 4 on dodges. She doesn't get dodges.
Sure.
Yeah. They also have an extra hit point on both sides. They're better.
I will grant you they're better. Not by leaps and bounds.
Yeah, no, again, the whole game is on a fairly shallow curve, but until you get to the real exceptions in the game, we're talking about Juggernaut or something, those models are definitely tough. But the average model in the game that doesn't have either damage reduction or healing is not that tough. I don't really care who they are. But yeah, I think the big difference here is this engine builds itself. Once you get it going, it's built.
Yes.
It's a race car.
Yep.
Once you get it out of first gear, it's going. So like that's a valuable piece. They have maneuverability. Crystal's never doing the amount of like automatic attrition they're doing every turn. Like the fact that they can line up 2 beams and an auto point of damage, like they get it done. But they're still well within the expectation.
They cannot line up. They cannot line up 2 beams.
They can.
Why can't they line up 2 beams?
Oh, they could just do 2 beams instead of doing their shtick. I see. What you're saying.
No, that's the whole conversation here. Is 2 beams worth it? Maybe it might be. I think they're okay. The cool thing about them is I think they look very fun to play, much like Rhino and Juggernaut are fun to play, even if they're not really doing anything.
I can tell you 2 beam 4s with 4 dice on with a 4-coster. That you could buff it if you run into something, you blow up something small, but that
sure. I mean, you can maybe get them some rerolls and stuff, but you also have a 6-die attack in there that you can do. You have a range 3 5-die stack. You can line up the effect chain if you want. There's a lot of things they can do.
Yeah,
but I think the biggest barrier to these models getting on the table is that you have to also buy Abomination. I think that's honestly the biggest barrier.
Oh, that's not. I don't want to be negative. I was just talking about assuming everyone in the game.
The price tag is the problem. It's just like the Howling Commandos are a really cool kit, but it's $35 for a single model. It's a barrier. It just is. A lot of people that have him put him in a bunch of lists because it's a good model. I think Wrecking Crew is a good model. It's just an expensive box set.
I'm assuming with Wrecking Crew, I was talking about people who have the Wrecking Crew. They're buying all the models and they have the range. Right. But
I think everyone I've talked to that is buying that box set is excited to play Wrecking Crew, and that's all but 3 people I've talked to.
Okay.
I think there are more people excited about it than you think. Is all I'm saying.
Okay.
I just think they're far too squishy for a 4 threat. They do one thing really, really, really well. And I know they do it really well. Guess who I need to make sure doesn't get to do that thing? Guess who doesn't get a say about it? Them, because they have no defense or mods, right? So anyway, enough about them.
Okay.
Time will tell who's right.
Tell me about Abomination.
Our list is Emil Oblonsky. I've played against this model once, and that has seriously colored my opinion. This model is not quite trash, because everything on his card fucking slaps. Has one of the best spenders in the game. 4 cost, 8 dice, automatic place, damage-based poison, and a wild size 4 throw. All on an 8 dice, 4 cost spender from range 3. That is insane. Size 4 long, terrain throw, and radiation zone poison shit, along with 7 health and DR. Oh my god, amazing. However, 2 significant issues on this dude. 0 action economy or movement shenanigans. What do you want to refer to it as? His spender is the only thing that moves him. So when I played against him, I just bowed him every turn, and he did nothing all game. You cannot have your 5 threat do nothing.
Doesn't have a builder for his 4 cost spender.
Correct. That's the second issue, is power. He gets 2 power a turn, has double gainer, and that's it. So why, under God's green earth, would you ever attack Abomination and give him the power he needs to radiate, throw shit, and gamma bomb your team? So me, as the Abomination player, need to give you a reason to attack him. So the first place I'm going to put him is in a MODOK 2 list that also includes Mephisto. So Mephisto, A-Bomb, MODOK 2 basically say, if you're attacking anyone, they both are like, no, you're attacking Abomination. Yes, Brandon.
Are you going to play the Taxus card?
Yes, I'm 100% going to play the Tactus card.
Yeah.
Yes!
So I think that is a great home and a great list in Criminals if you end up on a down-the-middle mission. I think you put Abomination in the middle with either model, and you just see how much damage he can get done. I think he has a valuable home in Criminals. Remains to be seen if he can just use some of his kit to, say, pick up an extract under Kingpin, who normally doesn't like to have 5 threats. But if your opponent has to attack him to win the game, that's hashtag not bad. Second place we want to put him is in Steve Avengers, because I really think there's something to double walk Radiation Zone turn 1. If you can make every single opponent within 2 of your... Again, he's a large base medium move. We're talking Dormammu. That is not short. So he can get long places, and with that large base... hopefully affect 2 to 3 enemies with a range 2. Poison them all, and they lose a power. They start turn 2 with 0 power. That's not nothing. I think. And I think the best way to play that is under Steve 1, because that's all you have to do is throw him in there. And then the obvious third place for this type of model is going to be the 2 affiliations that can specifically funnel him power, which is Professor X and
Inhumans.
Inhumans. Yep.
Inhumans.
I would tend to run him on Professor X first as your big boy splash, because Professor X is going to give him the rerolls to hit his triggers, and Professor X is only 4 threat versus Black Bolt's 5, but I could see him being viable in either.
I also really like Inhumans just for the Lockjaw.
Yep,
combo.
that's what I was going to say. Lockjaw really helps put him up the field. There's nothing.
And also, once he gets his train going, he doesn't need a crazy amount of power. You can start handing some power back out, so it's not like he's just a leech.
I think
yes.
he wants a crazy amount of power. I think he always...
Again, that spender is so good.
Well, specifically, though, there's like the threshold, right? Where it's like, well, I only have 1 power. There's no way I'm going to be able to get to my 4.
Yeah.
So I'll just hand that to somebody else, and then they hand it back once they've used it. So it's kind of like a share program.
Sure. Yeah. So anyway, those are the 3 places for A-Bomb, but I think you really have to take into account his lack of movement and lack of power if you're going to play him and be successful.
There's another reason why I really like Inhumans with him, which is Inhumans love to take an aggressive midline start, but they can be punished for it early in turn 2 because they have a tendency to have a glass jaw. But giving A-Bomb 1 power, or later in that first turn, double moving him across for that radiation zone. I had not considered radiation zone on top of bottom of 1. I mean, with a large base and 2 with a large move and 2 medium bases, like that. Sorry, two medium moves and a large base. That is, you could probably get 3 characters, maybe even 4, depending upon the deployment. Like you could get like their whole list pretty much.
I mean, heaven forbid you play awesome. Lockjaw, pass him power, and then he does it. He will get their entire fucking backline in their deployment zone.
Yes, you could.
And then just watch as they light him up. But sure.
Well, it's funny because if they might do something super conservative, like take their back D before they do anything else, then you just literally dive their team. You're like, your whole team has 0 power. Like, no! I can't pick up extracts.
So I'm a little frustrated because this guy's got everything that I would love to play on a model.
Except for the 2 things that we talked about.
Yeah, and he's so gutted. You can also play Omega Red with the poison shenanigans. I know people, from what I've seen, have been doing it in Hydra. Like, I don't understand why. I think I'd rather just play it in Criminals.
It's the healing, I think. Because you also pick up Strucker, who has the Death Spore virus.
Yep.
So he can also AoE poison. And then we've just the math of, I'm poisoning you and healing myself, and I'm not even making attacks to do it. So I'm not giving you any power. And it's just another beefy guy.
Also, that does the AoE too. Like, if both A-Bomb and Omega Red do that over the course of a turn, just dropping 8+ damage on your opponent is adds up really fast.
I mean, yeah.
By turn 3, everything's just falling down to light taps, right? Everything just starts to fall down.
Is Omega Red in Hydra? I think he's a splash.
He's a splash.
He's a splash.
That's why I said they're both in Criminals. So, are they both splashed in Hydra?
No,
A-Bomb
is
in Hydra.
Okay. A-Bomb is in Hydra.
So
it's just so convenient to you just put Omega Red on one center line, and then anyone moving to that point gets poisoned, and then you have Strucker and Abomination on the other 2 points. You're like, where do you want to go? You're gonna get poisoned. And they're like, fuck, leave me alone.
But the fact that Strucker is the 3rd model that just enables the giant poison is so excellent, right? Because then you don't have to rely upon your opponent to oblige you by ending their turn next to Omega Red. You can just proactively do it, and then both of them can just drop, 2 damage on their models in addition to any attacks they might make.
Yep. And again, I played against that list, and I just walked him away.
Following it up the next turn, and just let's say if you ever got Researcher, you're just cool, your whole list is poisoned, so you can't really come into me very effectively because you don't have any power. But then also next turn, we're just going to double 2 damage AoEs on top of your whole team. It's you're on a short clock. And they both have damage reduction. They both are going to heal every time they apply poison. Nothing is more fun with Omega Red in Hydra than watching somebody walk and stand next to you and then realize they healed you for 1 because they got poison from you. It's fucking hysterical. You're like, but I just moved to the point. It's like, yeah, you healed me. And you're just like, wow! It's so funny. I love that combo.
I'm not gonna lie. I really love double walk poison or lockjaw double walk poison bomb. That just sounds like exactly what I want to do with this game.
Just surprise poison.
It's just such a high tempo play, and it could be so debilitating for your opponent. And then, like you said, yes, then they feel then they're like, okay, now I'm going to shoot Abomination. You're like, okay, cool. like
they spend their whole turn attacking a guy with damage reduction with no power. That gives him extra power when you damage him, and you're like, sure,
right?
You're still poisoned. Like next turn, I'm just gonna bomb you and run away, and you're like, fuck. I'm going to throw this size 4 into you, I'm going to bomb you, and I'm going to double move medium directly away from your team and watch you sit there while poisoned.
Maybe this is terrible. Maybe it's awful.
Maybe. It might be.
It might be. But I don't know.
It buys you a ton of tempo while they chew on an Abomination.
Yeah. Like I said, I think you need to play an affiliation that can, really quickly get to that midline and punish from the midline. Like Black Bolt is a great example. I'm just going to stand here and murder things while you're trying to kill the A-bomb. But it could work.
I have a question. Can we nickname Abomination Kirkland Brand Hulk?
No. His name is Emil Blonsky.
Emil Blonsky. Fine.
Okay.
Do you have any other stuff for A-Bomb, Aaron?
Nope.
Okay.
I have another segment. I forgot what I was going to call it. Parker, what are we calling it?
Quiz cabinet or
quiz cubicle.
Quiz cubicle. That's what it.
Okay,
what?
So I created a new segment.
Okay.
Sorry, you should have run the show.
Is it where one person asks questions and other people answer the questions?
You'd know if you read the show notes.
Yeah, we developed this while you were taking a powder.
We have a segment for that. It's called the Daily Bugle.
Oh, okay, great. It's the Daily Bugle then. A quick one. Okay. Mephisto and Dracula have now both been out for about 3 weeks. Which one in that 3-week period has seen more play as a leader?
Oh, I bet it's Dracula.
Parker?
I think this is Aaron bearing the lead, trying to get me to double fake myself into guessing Mephisto, so I'm going to say Dracula.
It is Dracula by a 2-to-1 ratio.
Yeah, that's not surprising.
Between the two of those, which one has an over 50% win rate, and which one does not?
It's definitely Mephisto.
Over 50% win rate of the two of them.
Mm-hmm. I gave you it. One of them has over 50, one has under.
And this is with the affiliation, not the character. Right?
Correct. This is
correct. That they don't track character play.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Devil's. Yeah, the Devil one.
The Devil one is
Mephisto.
Over 50?
Yes.
Yeah.
You guys are both correct. Mephisto's at 52, Dracula's at 49.8.
Man, I bet everyone copied me in school too.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's all we have for Daily Bugle. Thank you for tuning in.
Sorry it was more controversial.
Not my fault, you're smart.
And just to be fair, everyone at home, the only reason it's true that Mephisto has a higher win rate than Dracula is because of the lower sample size. Get those numbers even, and we'll see how it looks.
It may not be the only reason.
I don't know that's the only reason. It helps.
I think Mephisto is a better character, more well-rounded than Dracula is.
Agreed.
Yeah. I also think he has a lot more... The
leadership, I would say, is worse, though. I think Dracula's leadership is better.
Oh, my God.
No.
Dracula's is so bad.
The problem
it's not good, but have you read Mephisto's leadership?
No,
2 power every turn for 5 turns. That's what it does.
Yeah.
It does nothing.
And even though that's what it does, that could be better when your opponent's playing, nothing but cyborgs and Ghost Riders.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, shit, I guess my leadership does jack and shit. Like, it's
I'm
possible.
still arguing there's a locked game state if your opponent has only immune to incinerate models. If your opponent can't select someone, it doesn't say they may. They must select someone. If there's no valid target, the game locks. Welcome to Windows 7. It's crashing. Anyway. Is that all we have for today?
Oh, yeah.
I know Aaron's a tired boy, so I'm trying to get us out of here.
Nope, one more thing.
Okay, hit us.
I have to give AMG props. I know I rag on whatever I want to rag on for the entire year. I just painted the Tomb of Dracula, and it is probably the most fun modeled paint that I've probably ever painted in the entire MCP range.
Nice.
I realize it's a piece of terrain, which I normally hate painting, but they knocked them out of the park. Did a great job.
Kenny didn't even have a stroke because it has a back.
It has a back.
Bonus.
Everything is beautifully crafted. I am not a big fan of the stained glass. That was some bullshit.
Yeah.
So minor knock on that, but the rest of the castle is pretty awesome.
I think it looks very good. Good job. I think you did a good job painting it.
Yeah, I will bring it in
I haven't
next time
seen
I'm
it.
there.
I haven't seen it in person. I'm really excited to see it in person.
Again, I think if you don't glue the altar down, I think it's playable on the tabletop.
The stairs had me concerned, but that was...
So it will limit where a large base could stand. But a medium base can stand on the stairs and overhang to the interior, and that's fine because it's still on the size 5.
Mm-hmm. And it's irrelevant, right? Being on the top and on the bottom doesn't change the game.
Correct.
Mechanics.
The entire thing's
just,
a state. So
as long as you can physically fit the model into the space.
Right. So you couldn't be like a quarter on the stairs because your model would fall off.
Right.
Right. So there are absolutely some spaces
you
you can't stand on, just like the top of the fucking Sanctum Sanctorum,
Agreed,
right?
Yeah. And the Quinjet, which is the same reason we don't play with those.
Well, the Sanctum's fine. The Quinjet's not. I want to say
I
this
have
is
more of a problem with the Sanctum than the Quinjet.
I can understand that, but I'm optimistic that there won't be unplayable game states often because of this terrain. It's really no different than terrain blocking you somewhere, right? You always got blocked by terrain trying to do something. Oh man, if this wasn't here, I could do this. Okay.
As long as people aren't going to put it in the dead center of tables, I don't think it'll be a problem. Yeah, cool. Well, I hope you're ready for me to play Agents of Smash, bro. Fucking throw that shit into your face.
Yeah. Anyway, so I just wanted to end the cast on a positive note, saying good job, AMG.
Mm-hmm. I am very glad that you won it. I'm really glad that I lost the game so that you could have it, and I'm excited to see the fruits of my loss and your labor.
Parker, you sound bitter.
So when I remove the altar, underneath is etched into the stone, Parker lies here.
That would make me so happy if you just put a little "Here lies Parker Guidry." That'd be fun.
Alrighty. Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Hopefully you had a good time. This has been Brandon.
And Parker.
And Aaron.
And you just listened to Abomination is Not Quite Trash.
So what are we going to call this thing?
I got it. Okay. Incredible, new, fantastic, astonishing, mighty, original, uncanny, sensational podcast.
I'm just going to put down infamous.
We are back. Aaron, you look excited.
It's going to be a fun episode.
I think this is the most excited I've seen you for an episode in a while. When I think the reason you're excited is somewhat strange and also weird.
I am the definition of strange and weird.
Oh, here, let me move my mic so it's actually not like on the other side of the planet. All right.
Aaron, I think you're the perfect combination of sexy and cute.
You're putting a lot of pressure on him.
No, I told you what he is, not what he needs to be.
Sometimes, like you saw Dennis from Always Sunny, like once he found out he was amazing, he had so much trouble maintaining that excellence.
No.
I know it, Ann Parker, and it is neither sexy nor cute.
If any listeners recognizes that's one of my favorite lines from Crazy Stupid Love. That's a perfect combination of sexy and cute. It's fantastic.
That movie is odd.
I love that movie.
It is a good movie. I saw so many clips of it that like I wasn't surprised by anything that happened during the movie because it's just one of those very like quotable and clippable movies where like you can just watch 2 minutes of it and it's entertaining. You don't really need any background info. But the climactic scene of the backyard of him like everybody showing up is one of the greatest 5 minutes of cinema ever made. They basically have this amazing, I'm going to try to avoid spoilers, but there's this amazing like winding paths all coming together at once. And they do a good job in the movie of not telling you that it's coming. They just leave little Easter eggs, and you kind of have to put together who's who, because there's a lot of times they will refer to somebody, but you won't know that's who they're referring to. And you come to find out all these separate storylines obviously come together, but they all come together in an amazing way it's not even really the end of the movie. There's another like half hour of the movie, but it's just an amazing scene that just keeps getting better the longer you watch it.
You're David Lindhagen. David Lindholm.
Oh, hold on. But yeah. I guess we should just get right into this, should we? I guess Aaron seems ready. Okay, so I assume this won't play through the speakers unless I make it play through the speakers. So just a little background info. So the way we sync up our audio recordings is we do claps at the beginning of the podcast. And you've probably heard us mention the claps. There's different points. So basically we just clap on 5. We count to 5, we clap. The showrunner counts to 5. And so Jeremy is musically challenged, I think is probably a fair way of putting it. He doesn't hold a tempo. Rhythmically challenged. Yeah, that's better. Rhythmically
I think he can carry a tune. I just don't think he can carry a beat.
I don't think he can.
I think you're underselling.
Yeah.
Challenged is one thing. Fucking incompetent is another.
He failed counting in school. I just know that is true. I don't know if he got the numbers right, but he failed
I think
counting.
he can count. He just couldn't do it on a beat. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah, exactly. But when you're in school, they're like, all right, count to 5, and you come back tomorrow for the 4-5. That doesn't. You failed.
In the movie The Jerk, where he's like, he has no rhythm. Like that's the big joke. Mm-hmm. He lives that. That's his life. It's pretty extraordinary.
Okay, so Aaron has told me, well, I guess to finish the explanation, his tempo is so poor that the cast decided to get him a present. And so we collectively chipped in and bought him a metronome so that he could do the claps. That's how poor he claps in a rhythm. So it's just easy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you clap on 5. He can't count to 5 in a way that other people can clap on 5 because he's like leading you to nowhere. He's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're just like, "What are you doing?" It's just like, how am I supposed to clap to that? And then the next time he does it, it's in a different rhythm, and so we bought him a metronome to help him. So this week is the first week he had said metronome. And Aaron informed me that I need to listen to his audio file. So I have downloaded it. I'm about to listen to it. So you guys are going to get my live reaction to how good Jeremy is at using a metronome, which I can only imagine is perfect.
I am so excited to see this. Roll the tape.
All right. Here we go. All right, here's the metronome.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can't do it. I can't do it. This is weird. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Did he just skip 4?
4, 5.
I swear to God, he went 1, 2, 3, 5. What the fuck? I don't know what's better, him just repeatedly saying, I can't do it, or him actually trying and failing.
I can't do it. Oh.
Wow, that was impressive. Okay, that's about kind of what I expected, honestly.
Are you willing to put, like, all 3 tracks together and put that somewhere, like, in this cast or something?
I mean, it's not. It doesn't cost me anything to leave it in. It just normally I don't leave it in because it's more professional to not.
Right.
What I will probably do is I'll add that clip to
the end of
me listening to it, so the audience can hear what I'm listening
to.
But yeah, if you guys want on the Judgment episode, I can leave that in at the beginner.
No, we're good.
Okay, that's it. Okay, yeah, we'll leave the Judgment be Judgment, but because I can't hear it from over here, so I really want to know.
Yeah. Did you not hear it?
No,
okay.
I can't hear it from here. So
I'll tell you what. I'll send you. I forget that you can't see all the stuff I can see. Mm-hmm. You only have access to your folder.
Yeah. Sometimes
I forget. I'm like, yeah, just look at the private folder that I have access to, and you're like, oh, I can't. Okay. Sometimes you forget that you're the hamster on the wheel, and then nobody else sees the engine moving. All right. Well, that was fun. So, did you guys do anything fun this week?
Went to 2 MCP tournaments. Is that kind of fun?
No.
Okay, then no. Horribly unfun.
That sounds like a blast. I love that you can do that. I feel like somehow because you can do that, that gives me hope that one day I can do that. To know that it's possible makes me so happy.
Mm-hmm. To go to MCP tournaments?
Yeah, Parker, I was doing that at your age, so at this point, it's your fault.
Yeah, probably a little bit. I think I made some life decisions, and I didn't realize at the time that those life decisions were going to mean that I also couldn't do whatever the fuck. Not whatever the fuck, because you don't do whatever the fuck, but it's have as many games as I would desire, I suppose.
Parker, do you remember my old roommate Trevor?
Mm-mm.
Tall guy, goatee. Anyway, so he told me, because when I was going to Adepticon early on, like this is like the mid 2010s, I would go to Adepticon every year, and he was always like, "Man, I really want to go to Adepticon. There's just always something going on that weekend." And I'm like, "Yeah, you just have to make it a priority, schedule it way out, and that's how you do it." And he's like, "You know what? That's right. I'm going to Adepticon next year." And this is like the week after we were talking about it because I had just gotten back. So he's like, "All right, you got 51 weeks. Put it on the calendar." And he's like, "All right, I'm going to do it." And so I reach out to him when we're scheduling the hotel room and stuff. I was like, "Hey, are you going this year?" He's like, I don't know. I just got engaged like a month ago, and we haven't set the date yet." I go, "Oh, okay. Well, just keep it in mind, and just let me know if you're going or not, and we'll try and save space for you." So a couple months go by, and he's like, "Yeah, so we scheduled the date on the weekend, so I can't go this year, but I'm going to go next year." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And I just didn't have the heart to tell him what he had just done. And I don't know if you guys are ahead of me here, but it's on the same weekend every year. And so,
Yeah,
I don't know if you realize the implication of getting married on the day of something you want to do on an annual schedule.
yeah.
But yeah, so his anniversary is Adepticon weekend, and it reminds me to wish him, like, congratulations, because I'm at Adepticon and you're not.
Yeah,
and he's like, "I had made huge mistakes."
Adepticon season and like beginning of November, and there are a couple of, like times every time like somebody's pregnant or something in my life, I go, just don't get
You're
born.
like, induce labor now.
Just don't get born on one of the weekends that I give a shit about, please. Yeah.
Again, my daughter was born at 2 a.m. and I was at work at 6 the next day.
Yeah.
Work, but wasn't your work like defending the country from nuclear weapons or something? Wasn't?
I was learning how to fly the B-2 at that point in time. So
I was gonna say that was one of those things that you didn't get to miss, right? You don't get to call in sick.
Not really. It was on a syllabus. I could have taken time off. They would have given it to me, but it would have definitely impacted my training. So
yeah. There's some jobs that if you told me, I went back to work the next day, I go, yeah, well, you're doing the thing doesn't wait for you, right? That's cool.
I mean, not that there's anything wrong with taking time off because you have life events and stuff, but I think it's definitely more of a personality choice thing, where it's like some people just decide, like, I'm not missing stuff for stuff. Like, it's like, obviously, if there's a need for me to be here, then I need to be here. Like, if she's in labor, I'm going to probably be there with her, I would imagine. But, like, the baby's born, everybody's fine, like, yeah, I'm going to work. Like, that's just kind of how my brain works, too.
Yeah, that was my 2 cents.
Like,
I'll take a week off when the kid is, 6 months, and we can play together as opposed to watching them in the hospital.
Yeah, it's just a personality trait thing. Same thing was like, do you take your birthday off from work? Like, it's just kind of like a personality thing.
Fuck no.
Exactly. Some people are like, that's ridiculous. Why would you do that? And then other people are like, of course you take your birthday off from work. There's nothing wrong with doing it either way. It's just the way you approach things.
Yep.
Right?
And I did.
It's like, I would rather save my vacation day for going on vacation rather than sitting at home and eating cake. Like, it's just a different, like where your mind's at.
Yep. And I did take.
And I don't know that's like a nurture versus nature thing. I think it's just like some people are some way and some people are the other way.
Yeah, it's like my wife. Her birthday is the most important day in the year.
Yeah.
Whereas I couldn't care less about mine. But everyone's different, and that's not a judgment. That's just
now not caring about your birthday. That might be a nurture thing. I'm not sure. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but I did take probably 4 years off of gaming completely to be a dad taxi for the kids when they were like between 8 and 12, and they just had activities all the time, and
You're trying to
priorities were where they needed to be. They're just at a point in life, have been for several years, where I don't need to do that anymore.
Yeah, like nobody's dependent on you anymore. They're all grown.
Sometimes I think about like my dad. In my memories, I have my dad, of course, the later stages of my own life. I can't remember him when I was younger, and he was probably around a lot more. But I remember as I got older and older, he did a lot of hobbies. Like he was constantly out in, he loves his farm and he loved to, carpentry and stuff like that. So he was very rarely in the house when I came home because he was outside doing whatever fun thing he wanted to build or do or, piddle around with. And so that's how I remember my dad. But I also don't remember, I assume because he must have been there for those times in which I was a lot more helpless, right? When I could help myself, that's what I remember more.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm sure eventually it will get there. Like it's already getting there for my oldest because she's also just very independent and she doesn't want anybody around. But my youngest is still very clingy, and I need to be there one of these days.
Yeah. I remember when I was a kid, because we grew up pre-internet as a child, and so like you couldn't just have infinite activity while you were at home like kids can nowadays. And so like it was, you wanted to go do something, it's like you had to walk there by yourself, unsupervised, and your parents had to be okay with that, or you didn't do it, right? Like it's because like, it was so rare to have parents that would just chauffeur you around town every day. And so like I remember how desperate I was to like go do stuff as a kid. And so I know I would want to be the kind of parent that would go take their kids to go do stuff. So like even if like just go walk around the mall for half an hour, like that was like a privilege. Even though you're not going to fucking do anything there, you're just going to just get out of the house for sanity.
I'm still proud of you, Aaron, for taking advantage of your time right now and using it for 2 MCP tournaments. That's
Nice.
baller.
Thanks.
I want to really give both of you guys a big thanks for showing up to our 10-year anniversary. That was really nice of you guys. I was glad that we got to spend that time together.
No problem.
I'm always there for you like that.
None of you guys came. I think 10 years is a big deal. We made it.
Did you put together a celebratory MCP tournament that we could go to?
No.
Oh, okay. I just wondered.
I bought pizza for everybody.
Oh, okay.
This is store 10 years?
Yeah. I was just sitting there with my models wanting to play games, and nobody was there.
What day was this?
Hanging out. Saturday.
I did. Okay, well, I was completely occupied on Saturday. It wouldn't have happened. But I didn't realize it was 10 years. I must have missed the memo. It wasn't in our Discord, was it? It probably was in.
It's been on the TV banner for like a month now, and we posted it and stuff.
Yeah, I missed that. I could have at least stopped by. Probably. Maybe not, actually. That is still really cool. That's really badass, actually. Mm-hmm. I think about it sometimes, like how close I am to that store and how much I want, like how much it has affected my hobby, like the ability to be there.
Yeah, because like when you were driving like down to Tabletop, it's just, or not Tabletop, 31st Century or Tabletop, really. Like it's just like that's a half an hour commitment just to get there and back, or get there, so it's an hour round trip.
Yeah,
especially during traffic times.
Yeah, sometimes.
But I mean, honestly, in Kansas City in general, we're very spoiled for distance from Game Store.
Yeah.
So, like Dallas, like I know a lot of people in Dallas live like I think it's like an hour and a half from a Game Store. Just such a big city, and there's just not that many.
Mm-hmm. My wife and I were having a really like awesome conversation the other day about like, do we stay ever in Kansas City? Is there ever like a time in our lives when we consider going somewhere else? And we were talking about all the places we've been and all the places we know and the kind of things we would appreciate about them. And one of the things she said was, for some of the locations we're like, but I don't think that place is a game store. And I looked it up and I was like, nope, that place doesn't have a game store. Huh. And it was like, it was not a joke. She was like really, you wouldn't be able to do your hobby there. Like it would be gone. And I was like,
well, it's good to know that we're interchangeable. And just as long as there's a single warm body in another game store, Parker's.
I really just need, in fact, I was looking specifically, I was trying to do a Google search for game stores with only new players so that I could just.
That makes sense. I mean, it's not your fault. It's how you were raised. You grew up playing at hometown games with true. The 2 other people there that didn't know how to play games, and you're just running them over every day.
It's true. Hometown Games was like what I think. It was
just like it was literally a goldfish tank, and Parker was just in there with a shotgun, putting people out of their misery.
I'm going to be nice to the people. If anyone is listening, could possibly be listening from that store, there was absolutely people
name names
at that store. Absolutely people at that store who could play and did play. I didn't win every game at that store. I don't know if any of those people still play anywhere, but the game store was not. It was just a very small pond. It just didn't have a lot of diversity.
It was the smallest of ponds. That place was the smallest game store I've ever been inside of.
Mm-hmm.
It had the feng shui of like a Spencer's Gifts where you walk in and you feel claustrophobic if there's nobody else in the store even. Yeah. You're like, I could barely move between these racks. And you're like, yep, that's how Hometown Games feels.
It's like, it was the size, I'm trying to think of like the square footage of it.
My garage has legitimately more square footage.
Yeah, like it's about, it's less than the size of a garage, and then imagine also like all the stuff you expect in a retail store, right? shelves and stands and a checkout, and then
Yeah.
tables somehow. Man, it was
Yeah, he had a lot of those spinners, like the cube spinners that would rotate.
Uh-huh.
And so to look at the bottom of the spinner, you would legitimately have to walk past it and then look backwards at it. Because there was not enough room for you to back away from the shelf enough to look down. Like, that's how tight all the fixtures were. It was insane.
And you know what? I am so appreciative of that place. It was there every time I needed it for my entire college experience. So
Yeah, I bet.
it was awesome. I really appreciated that place.
Yeah. We would go there occasionally for War Machine tournaments, and if you got paired on one of the outside tables, he had these 12-inch wide shelves up on higher up on the walls to hold terrain and stuff. But the tables were so close to the walls that you would have to lean forward while playing a game because there'd be a shelf directly behind your head, and the table was only 16 inches from the wall. And so you would literally have to lean forward the entire time you were playing the game, or else you couldn't stand on that side of the table. It was so cramped. That had to be a fire code violation. There's no way they were allowed to have more than 4 people in that building at once.
Probably. But man, played a lot of games on those.
I want to say the Geekery's maximum occupancy was 56 people for the original one room, because they only had one exit. And that is that would have been 5 or 6 times what it would have been for Hometown, at least. Mm-hmm. That place was literally a fire trap. Mm-hmm. Anyway, talk about something else for a while.
But again, so appreciative that I had that place.
Parker, did you ever go to Galaxy Games in St. Joe before it closed?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that place was crazy. That was the most spacious game store I've ever seen that did not utilize their space at all.
Yeah.
It was basically an old, small grocery store they converted into a game store. And St. Joe, Missouri is an old farm town. So they have a surplus of square footage everywhere. Everything is so spread out. And there's barely any real commercial areas outside their downtown area, which is mostly condemned, I think, at this point. Mm. Anyway, so it was just on the offskirts on this little nowhere highway, and you'd go in there. It's just expansive room. It had to be probably almost 20,000 square feet. It was huge, and they had 8 gaming tables and 14 white card tables, and that was it. They had a counter that wrapped all the way around the store, but only a third of it had product behind it. And there was this whole expansive back room area where they could do this advanced shipping stuff. And it was just not you because they hadn't grown yet, and they moved into this large space. They just couldn't fill it, and then I don't know if they ever got the people, but the store eventually closed.
What?
It was just wild.
Do you remember the name of the shop that I had my famous White Hot Rage?
The basement.
Was it the basement?
Yeah, that was the Zona Rosa game store.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that very well. You were playing Ryan Geiler on the far back left table, one away from the wall.
And
I would just come back.
It was foam board covered in
sand.
It
was this it was this big, expansive strip mall that had double sides on it, and so there was it's commercial corridor between the two strip malls where all the bathrooms and everything were. And there's a ramp from the store going up to that area that you would go into almost the back side of a mall. And so that's where you go to the bathroom. I was coming back from the bathroom. I decided to just stop and lean against the railing on the ramp and watch your guys' game because everybody was already crowding around it. Because I don't want to be offensive here, but oddly Parker's game was the only one not finished. and so I'm watching the game and I could see it happening in slow motion in my head. I go, Parker looks kind of frustrated. Ryan looks like he's in a very commanding position, and he looks very relaxed. So I was Ryan's probably ahead, and I kind of start taking in aspects of the game. And I see that Parker is I think you were playing Signar, and you just kept shooting this same rune shaper standing in a zone. And you're he's shooting me, he's all right, tough. He's okay. Shoot him again, tough. Shoot him again, tough. Shoot him again, tough. Shoot him again, tough. And these are 1 in 3 checks, and he's made 6 in a row at this point. And you can see Parker has run out of contingency plans in his head. He's all right, the only thing I can do now is a lightning bolt this guy with my caster. So he walks up, shoots him, and Ryan makes the tough roll. And Parker is just white hot in incandescent rage. Yeah, Parker picked up his hands and made claws with his fists and then just raked them across the surface of the table. And this is before we had rollout game mats. This was on an actual flocked and sanded table. And he just dug like trenches in it with his fingernails.
It was like that. You know those like hardcore foam boards.
Mm-hmm.
They're like really thick.
Yeah,
foam
it's like
boards.
2-inch insulation foam, and then they
Yeah.
usually like give it some hills and valleys, and then they coat the whole thing in like sand or flock, and then they put like paint it and they put grass on top.
This was sand. It was like a pretty big grain sand too. Mm-hmm. It did not feel good.
I bet it didn't.
But I didn't care.
And then it was just like an episode of The Office where everyone deadpans to somebody else. And so Ryan looked at me, I looked at Ryan, and like everyone else just like locked eyes with somebody while Parker just fumed and stared at his hands. And they were like, oh, this is a crazy person.
That was the most rage I have ever felt at a game board. Ever. And the best part was...
It's the board's fault for making the die roll that way.
Ryan didn't bother me at all. And also... It was the perfect person to happen that to, right? Like, because he was like
too afraid
best,
to bother you.
Yeah, he was the best. He was the best gamer to deal with that moment. And I didn't make it. I didn't actually rage with volume. Just the fingers.
No, you
peeling
didn't say
down.
anything.
Yeah, I didn't say anything.
Maybe made a groaning sound.
Yeah, I didn't say anything. I just scratched like a cat slowly across the table. Man. Whew. And then I stood up, and I lost.
Yeah. Should have just killed that rune shaper. I don't know what the problem was.
I was trying to dig a hole
Have
to
you
his
considered
caster.
trying to kill the rune shaper?
Yeah, I had considered that. Whew.
So anyway, that was cool. All right, you guys ready to jump into Mojo World?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'm actually really excited how you guys are going to steal my shit. I want to know how it's going to happen. I'm interested.
So it looks like I'm going in the middle. So Aaron's going to go first. Parker's going to go last. All right, so our topic this week is movies set on a boat. And so at least a large portion of the movie needs to be on a boat.
Take a good, hard look at this motherfucking boat. Absolutely.
Let me get my list ready. Oh, my bangers. Okay. Aaron, what's your favorite movie on a boat?
Tiki.
I feel like you've said this before, haven't you?
It was a long time ago, yes. But I guarantee no one's watched the movie since I recommended it the first time. So
you don't
stop making fun of me and watch the fucking movies I tell you to. KON-TIKI.
This is how you made your favorite frenemy, is by naming movies like this. All right, Tiki.
It is about the exploration of the Pacific Ocean and the belief that the Easter Islands, I think, were colonized by South Americans. That they were able to take a balsa raft from South America and sail it over the Pacific Ocean. So Norwegian explorers proved that they could. And so this is based off of real events on a balsa raft adventure.
Stuff like that always makes me really think about like the thought process that would go through people's heads. Obviously, we live in a completely different world. Honestly, like it's a different time, it's different civilization. But what could compel somebody to build a raft and just go out to the ocean? That just seems insane to me. Like, it seems weird to do it even nowadays, unless you had a strong reason to. But they're just like, I decided to go out onto the ocean with this little skiff I made. And you're like, okay, cool. Why do you want to die so bad?
Yep.
Anyway, so coming back to me, I mean, I feel like there's so many great movies that I kind of want to skip the obvious answers and go to other stuff. But then I'm worried you guys are going to take my other stuff, and then I'll be left with only bad movies because also all the good stuff's taken. So the problem is I only have 3 really good ones, and then there's the obvious one. So, all right, I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to go with Waterworld.
Oh, what a good one.
And I know that one of you is going to take the actual best movie available, and I took it last time, so I'll give you guys a chance. All right, so Parker, you're up. You got back-to-backs.
I'm going to go with the best boat movie, Steven Seagal's Under Siege.
Ooh, that's good.
Oh my god.
Is it? Oh my god! Good
I just
or
threw up in my mouth. Like
because
literally.
you missed the opportunity to take it yourself, obviously.
Oh my god, Parker. I have told everyone I like you. I have to somehow find a way to contact them and take it all back.
Is this really like a pain point for you? Is Under Siege really that offensive? I mean, it's terrible, but
No, disagree. It's great.
I
I mean, it's no Under Siege 2.
Okay.
Dark territory.
Well, the reason why
we need to do movies based on trains next.
I got to say that I'm going to keep it. I'm going to leave it there.
No, it's great.
You should absolutely keep
You're
it there.
killing it.
And
Yeah,
accept my lack of
Tiki.
respect.
Okay.
You took Tiki. You can take Under Siege. It's fine.
This match.
I'll just reap all the benefits. You guys just having a war straight to the bottom.
My second one is going to be... I'm just going to go with two that... I'm going to go with one I've never said, but I did really love it the first time I saw it, and so I'm going to go with it. And I know this is basic, but Pirates of the Caribbean, Black Pearl.
That was on my list. Now, to be fair, it was the fourth movie on my list. So.
I've never gotten to actually take that one, and that first one is wonderful.
It's a good one. I went to it on a field trip. It's like for some fucking organization I was hanging out with at the time. But they were like, we're going to see this movie. I'm like, what movie? And they're like, it's called Pirates of the Caribbean. I'm like, that sounds lame as shit. Mm-hmm. Can I not go? And they're like, no, you have to. And I'm like, fine. And I loved it. It was great. The other movie I abruptly saw like that, not knowing what it was about, was The Matrix. I was very excited about that one as well.
Nice.
All right. So you guys did a great job of leaving my favorite picks available here. So I'm going to go with the one I think Aaron is most likely to pick, Captain Ron.
What? That was when I left. Surely no one was going to pick Captain Ron.
That was a hard take. I almost took it first. I almost first picked Captain Ron.
Oh my gosh.
You're insane if you think that was getting around.
Wow.
Meanwhile, the best movie in the genre is still on the board.
I cannot believe somebody thought I thought I was the only person in this cast who's even seen Captain Ron.
What? I've seen that movie like 30 times.
Who is fucking amazing.
I'd learned that driving the Saratoga.
Yeah.
All right, Aaron.
Go. Huge difference. Huge difference.
Huge difference. Aaron, you're up next. You got your back-to-backs.
Okay, we are going to take Master and Commander, Far Side of the World.
Fuck! That was
God
the next
damn
one.
it! Fuckity fuck! Why?
That was never getting back to you, Parker. That was that next.
Why is this one the one that I was going to get so mad about? Man.
And my third one is a little controversial, but I think it qualifies. Apocalypse Now.
That's on my list.
I haven't seen it.
Okay. Yeah, that counts. Absolutely counts.
All right, I'm fine with that because it leaves the obvious pick. I was going to take Master and Commander instead, but Aaron took it from me. So now I'm down to the obvious movie, Jaws. But it's also one of my favorite movies.
That was on
Parker.
my list at 5.
Wait, so you didn't pick it because you feel the other three movies are all stronger, or you just didn't want to pick Jaws?
The other 3 movies are definitely stronger.
Okay. Just so that's on a live channel. I just wanted that to be established. See, I was trying to avoid Jaws because I've already said it twice before. But
I also feel like the setting is more about the shark than the boat in Jaws. But it was on my list as it qualifies, but it wasn't really meeting the theme of the...
I'd say for the first part of the movie, but the last half or 2 acts, I would say, are 100% it's them in the boat.
Oh, it made my list, but
yeah.
It wasn't as naval boat-esque as I really wanted for the category.
Fair. Parker.
I can't believe you guys.
Now that we've absolutely ravaged your list.
You just demolished my list.
You can take Thunder in Paradise if you want.
No.
I'll leave that out there for you.
Shut up.
Battleship is also available. Battleship's open. My list goes south real hard after the first 6.
The problem is, what's so dumb about this is the last movie on my list, I was like, surely somebody else would take this. I just took this last list. Like, I'm not going to do it again. But I guess I'm doing it again because it's the one I have.
Pick better categories. This is 100% on you.
No, I can't do that. I can't do it. I gotta pick something else. Okay. This is so sad. You know what? I'm gonna go with another terrible D movie. like Under Siege. I'm going to go with Anaconda.
I give you more props for Anaconda than fucking Under Siege.
Okay.
Yes, that actually triggers me.
Okay. I did not know that was it. That was going to be the thing. If you would have lined up all the things that I've ever liked,
I want to actually know what is it you don't like about
hate.
Under Siege? Like, what's the worst part of Under Siege?
The main character.
You just don't like Steven Seagal.
The main actor, yes.
That's fine. I've never understood the vitriol that Steven Seagal gets. I get he's a giant douchebag, but like, other than
what more do you need?
I mean, you realize most of these people are Hollywood actors, and they're vastly giant douchebags.
So
just because you don't have it thrown in your face that they're a douchebag doesn't mean they're not. So it's just a weird phenomenon where I just assume everyone that is rich and famous is a giant asshole.
Yeah,
and so I'm never disappointed.
I think there are differences between being an entitled prick and being a petulant baby and like being an actually despicable human being. And my views on actors will color how I view a film, right or wrong.
Fair. All right. Do we have any honorable mentions for boats other than Thunder in Paradise, featuring the great actor Hulk Hogan, and Battleship, featuring the great actor Rihanna?
I mean, Titanic is, for all the memes, and actually a good movie.
Yeah, that's fair.
My island was going to be Wolfhound, but I just did that one last time, so I refused to do it again. But
Greyhound,
for the category, make sure you
Greyhound.
put surface vessels, or people are going to lose
No,
their
I'll
shit
put boat.
about all this. No,
I'll put boat.
Oh god,
Pudding boat. Bodie McBoatface. What was the origin of that? I remember it was an online poll that someone did. Was it a research vessel?
Yeah, I think it was a research. They like named
there was this new
vessel.
commissioned research vessel to go do something important, and then they were like, and then to celebrate the boat, we'll have this online contest where you can submit your own names for what we should name the boat. And it was like an okay competition because there's only like 150 voters because no one gave a fuck. Until one person submitted Bodie McBoatface, and then it immediately jumped to like 100,000 votes. And they were like trying so hard to get it to not win, but there's nothing they could do. It was a meme. Like it became a thing. And now anytime there's like an online naming competition, Bodie McBoatface is always submitted.
Yeah. Honestly, in a real way, I would love to serve on Bodie McBoatface.
Yeah,
like
I would be proud.
Like if you told me you can serve on this research vessel, I'd be like, is it Bodie McBoatface? Because if not, I'm less interested.
I'm surprised we got as far down my list as we did.
I'm a little surprised. let me look at this now.
You are surprised, dejected, embarrassed.
Aaron,
the full gamut of emotions have run through you in the past 5 years.
I'm not gonna lie. I was very, very, very mad. I thought so many parts of this list were gonna be here when I got back. I didn't expect it to be good.
Yeah, that was never gonna happen. Aaron, were you gonna take Captain Ron? I wasn't sure.
Never seen it.
Never seen it. Okay. It seemed like more of your movie than Master and Commander.
It might have been, but again, I can't recommend a movie I've never seen. I only had 5 on my list. The 3
exactly.
I picked, plus Titanic.
I totally get that.
Or 6. Titanic, Pi, and Life of Pi, and Jaws.
Yeah. I assumed Life of Pi was on there somewhere. But yeah, I just would have guessed you had seen Captain Ron and not Master and Commander, but I guessed wrong. I couldn't have my top 3.
Mine all got picked that I had to drop down to Speed 2. And that would have felt really, really,
Speed 2's
really bad.
Good one. Parker, you want to sub Anaconda for Speed 2?
No.
You sure? Dude, Speed 2 is legit.
Nah. I actually enjoyed Anaconda. As a kid, I have good fun memories.
Anaconda was good.
I have never seen it in the modern era, so I might be, find it despicable now. But the scene in which the Anaconda vomits up John Voight for him to wink at the main character and then die is just, I'll never be able to erase that from my mind.
It was like the prelude to Lake Placid, so.
Yeah. It walked so Lake Placid could run.
Yeah, but it slithered.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, I guess we're probably ready to go into the main episode. You guys got anything else you want to chat about before we do? No? Nothing?
Well, no, I have bones to pick about Judgment, but that's for another podcast.
Okay.
So
Parker, tell me everything you know about metronomes.
I know they keep time.
They're useless. They're literally... it's like magnets. Who knows how they work?
I believe anyone could use a metronome. Anyone.
You believed.
How hard could it be? When it clicks, I say 1. When it clicks again, I say 2. Oh,
Did you give him the instructions? Did you explain it?
he knew what to do.
Did he?
No.
Clearly not. It was just too much pressure. I couldn't handle it. It clicked 3 times. I just lost my mind. I can't take. Is it going to click again? It's like, when's it going to stop? What?
Do I say a number in between the clicks or on the clicks? He just a brain rewired itself in the middle.
Oh man. One of the first podcasts we did from my basement at my old house, when we all did it in person. I don't think Parker was there, but I can't remember if he was or not. We had an equipment issue where one of our headsets was just flawed and it was feeding back the mics of everybody. And so you would hear your own voice in addition to everybody else's played back into your headset, where normally you could only hear other people's voices. But it was on like a 1 second delay. And so when you started talking, you would then hear yourself talking back to you in a delay, and it's very disorienting. And so I had to take that headset because nobody else could accomplish a conversation without losing their train of thought while listening to how they sound, because it's already off-putting to hear the way your voice is, because you don't sound the way you think you sound anyway. And so it was just funny because I had the air traffic controller. You already have to be able to listen and talk at the same time. It was kind of funny.
Something just hit me like a ton of bricks. You asked me if there's anything else to talk about. I finally saw Deadpool and Wolverine.
Oh, that's perfect.
Did you see it, Aaron?
Yes.
Okay, so
favorite movie ever.
I want to know what you guys thought of it. I'm curious.
Okay.
Can we spoiler alert? Because I like to.
Yeah, it's fine. People have seen it at this point. It's on Disney Plus.
It is. That's why I saw it.
That's why Aaron's seen it.
Yeah.
So my initial impression was it was good. I was surprised by the amount of cameos they had. I thought the cameos overall were very good. And yeah, I just liked it. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't like amazing, but it was just a good movie. I got what I was expecting from Deadpool 3, which is a positive note.
Aaron, do you have an opinion?
It was Marvel porn.
Yeah.
Like softcore. Like it was something you felt good watching. I think Jeremy and I had the same opinion, which is the multiverse has ruined Marvel. Because decisions don't matter. Like some guy died. It's supposed to be a poignant, event in a series, if you will. Yoda dies in Star Wars, and they're all like, it means something, right? Or pick your movie, right? But nothing matters anymore in the Marvel universe because they're just going to retcon it, and they're going to be alive and pulled from a different multiverse. So I am I thought it was a good, for me, kind of emotional send-off to the MCU that I no longer give a shit about.
So can you give me an example of a time they've done this that you did not like?
Marvel?
Yeah, the MCU, that they've like resurrected the character and you're like, I don't like this. I think it ruined the point of the person dying.
Every time.
But like, can you give me one?
So
I know they haven't really brought back that many people through the timey-wimey stuff. Like it's Gamora, Logan kind of, but it's like, it's not the same person specifically. And then the Gamora stuff, I felt like they kind of made it like, this isn't just Gamora is back, like it's just a different Gamora.
Not really.
Okay.
I'd have to rewatch some of them.
I got the initial. Normally, I hate time travel in movies for that same reason. And me and Jeremy had a long conversation on this when Endgame came out, which is why I felt they made such a strong point to get rid of the Infinity Stones as quickly as possible, so that isn't just a backdoor answer to every problem. And so I felt that they were trying to actually move away from that. And for me, the like bringing people, like the couple people they've brought back in movies or TV shows, it hasn't really affected me at all. So it's just interesting that you guys have that point of view.
You guys. Okay, it's not me.
Jeremy and Aaron.
Okay. See, for me, it's not even that I don't or do appreciate it. It's just that I expect it, because Marvel.
Well, you're also the comic fan of
right, like Marvel characters. When you say like Marvel characters come back to life, I was like, they have killed so many more characters in the MCU than they have ever even thought about killing in the Marvel universe. Like the fact that Black Widow is dead and not coming back, like she's just dead. Like that's
for now. until they decide, no, let's bring her back.
Well, Scarlett
That's the
Johansson would have to
problem.
want to,
So
right?
it
And
feels like
Sure.
you're more afraid that they're going to do this as opposed to upset that they have done it.
Maybe.
so I guess what I'm saying is because specifically the kind of storytelling that comic books are, because they create iconic characters. By definition, icons are not supposed to be killed, and yes, they're tied to mortal beings. And in order to create more poignant stories, you have to make these characters feel mortal by killing them. But the icons come back, right? They have to, because that's how the IP works. That's how like the cycle of
That's the story, yeah. The
That's how the
story
story-
is about this person.
the icons, right?
Yeah.
So I think that writing in a way, without making timey-wimey or multiversey or whatever it is, I disagree. I don't think the multiverse had anything to do with it. I think it's coincidental. I think it had happened at the same. I think the introduction of the multiverse happened at the same time that writing got weak, characters became more poor, it became less interesting and exciting to watch. Like, there are lots and lots of things that made it worse. Because I can point to some of the best content they have, which is all multiverse, and some content that has no multiverse on it and is clearly weak. So I think there is. I don't think it's multiverse tried directly. I do think. Now, let's bring it back to Deadpool. That's the side. I thought Deadpool and Wolverine was really fun to watch, but man, I had to turn my brain off really hard because the plot makes no sense. Like, no sense. Like,
No, yeah, the plot is just
I'm excited
a loose thread to keep them together.
But even then, there are weird choices that they made in the film that were so painfully distracting for me. I had to actively forget about them because the whole movie I was searching for threads to be tied and holes to be filled, and they never were. And it was so frustrating to me. I just had to stop thinking about it. I had to go, okay, this movie is entirely meta. There's no actual plot. And if the only I guess, so therefore the only criticism I have of it is I think they should have just gone hard meta. I feel like they tried to kind of sling in some plot kind of haphazardly, and they shouldn't have half-assed it. They should have just whole-assed it. They should have just said, this is the Fox universe. It's dying because Wolverine's not in it anymore, so we're going to bring it back by putting a Wolverine back in it and making there any sort of other tie-ins like Deadpool's interaction with the Avengers and the TVA and all these things that just left massive plot holes in the film. They should have just not bothered. They should have just made it entirely a meta commentary, like a giant episode of Community or something. Or Rick and Morty, where there's whole episodes where there's just meta. That's the whole plot is meta.
Isn't the whole point of the TVA is just to explain to them that the universe is dying? Because without that, they wouldn't know.
Right. What I'm saying is you didn't need to do that. Deadpool could have just told us that. Deadpool, you know what I mean? I feel like it could have been the fact that
you would just complain that there's a plot hole in that. Then
no, because Deadpool has the ability to tell us that he's in a movie while he's also in a movie, and no other character's supposed to. The fact that they tried to is weird. I'm not going to go into
I personally, if the movie had just started and Deadpool's just monologuing to the camera, it's I have to bring Wolverine back because without it, the universe is going to die. I'm that doesn't make any fucking sense. And it would just be very off-putting.
Oh no, I think you could write a better way than that. But
sure, but I'm just saying they just shows the TVA, which has been showing up in a lot of different stuff lately. So I didn't find that off-putting at all.
The fact that the movie starts with literally the screen says in Marvel Universe 616. And Deadpool is sitting at the counter talking to Happy Hogan, and then all of a sudden he's in a different universe, and they never explain how or why or what the fuck that first scene was, but it somehow apparently also happened in his universe because he references it in his conversations with Vanessa. It doesn't make any there's so many plot loops and holes that don't make any sense. I don't know why they're there. If that scene just wasn't there, it wouldn't have mattered or changed the movie. So I don't know why they added in some of that stuff.
That's fair.
So that's the only thing that I'm nitpicking a movie that was meta, and I think they could have just left it meta by being more meta. The TVA was probably the non-egregious part, but there's some other parts that just made no sense. So that's the only thing I
also was not a fan of him trying to join the Avengers. That seemed really odd.
Yeah, it just seemed kind of
dumb. I think the point was to try and show that he was looking for meaning in his life, and just because he doesn't have any.
Yeah, Deadpool was trying to find meaning, and Wolverine was trying to find redemption, and the whole movie was a big love letter to Fox.
Yeah.
And what was kind of bizarre about it is it wasn't insincere. Like some of it was, some of it was tongue in cheek, but it actually was a sincere homage to the Fox era of Marvel. A lot of it was.
Like, we wouldn't have the Marvel Studios without Fox.
Yeah, like they treated the characters like Elektra and Blade with like a lot of sincerity. They treated the Logan story and his death with some sincerity. They had the little credits, the little, wish I had, glad the time of your life, homage at the end. None of that was a joke. That was just like sincere. They cared about this time of their lives.
It was really just the Fox's version of Endgame. Is really what it was.
Yeah, kind of.
Which is, way worse and like lower budget, but
I don't know.
So, Aaron, I guess based on what I wanted to say earlier, which I know doesn't apply to you, is it's a comic book movie. What were you expecting when it comes to, like, the bringing people back and the meta stuff? But I know that you don't, like, you're not a comic guy, so that's not a fair criticism to you. And you got into it not expecting that level of, like, retcon and multiversal overlapping stuff. So it's not really fair to you, which is why I didn't say it earlier. But to Jeremy, he should have expected that. Like, he's a comic guy. Like, he used to read this stuff. He knows what happens. This was always going to happen. Yeah, I don't know.
I went pretty deep down the well there, but I will say that I really enjoyed the movie. I liked it, and I just had to turn my brain off pretty hard, and I wish I didn't have to, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it is also a Deadpool movie, so I don't know how much we should expect out of that. I think it definitely felt different than the other two.
Oh, yeah. I feel like it was just as much a Wolverine movie as it was a Deadpool movie. To call that Deadpool 3 is a misnomer. It's Deadpool and Wolverine. They absolutely did that.
That's what it's branded as. Yeah,
I know, that's what I'm saying.
I expected that, but I think a lot of people didn't. And a lot of the complaints I hear is it's not Deadpool 3, it's Wolverine and Deadpool. I'm like, yes, that is the name of the movie. What did you expect to get? And they're always like, well, I wanted Deadpool 3. I'm like, you went to see the wrong movie. I don't know what to tell you.
One of my favorite parts about it is how hard Hugh Jackman acts all the time in a movie that's so tongue-in-cheek. He is acting like Shakespearean the entire time, completely straight with it. I think it was also called for and fun. One of the high points.
That's the fun part. Is why they play off each other so well. Because one's so serious. Same with Cable. Cable's so serious, and Deadpool's so serious all the time.
Well, but Josh Brolin is a very stoic actor. Like he doesn't cry, right?
Sure.
Like Hugh Jackman was in tears thinking about like the death of the X-Men in his original universe. It's like Hugh Jackman, the man, acts like that. He emotes a lot, even though he's supposed to be a hard-nosed character. He plays Wolverine well because Wolverine does emote. And Cable does not. So they're doing their characters well. But my point is that I loved how hard he was acting. It wasn't. It was a genuine performance, right? It wasn't. It wasn't a tongue in cheek. It's called for. So there are lots of parts of the movie that I like hang up as like this is a really really great version of this. So I decided to look past the kind of plot inconsistencies and just focus on the things that I appreciated about it.
Well, I mean, looking back when we first heard that the Deadpool movie was going to happen, the concept of like a Cable and Wolverine team-up movies coming down the road seemed like even more far-fetched than the fact that the Deadpool movie might be good. And so, like, the fact that we're here now and looking back at it is impressive to me. Like, getting crossover movies like that back in the day just seemed impossible.
Yeah. All right. I'm sorry. I took up a large portion of the cast with that, but I wanted to talk about it.
Dare you use our platform to talk about Marvel? That's ridiculous. I need you to apologize to the people. I'm going to cut this, actually. Don't apologize later, so I'm going to cut this out. How about this? So what came out before this? Was it Guardians was the last Marvel movie you saw? It's been a while since we've gotten movies. It's been a lot of TV shows. Mm-hmm. So worse than Guardians 3? I know you liked Guardians 3.
Oh, better or worse than Guardians 3?
I think Guardians 3 is kind of in the same vein of this. I actually met a lot of people that didn't like Guardians 3, which I found surprising.
Well, they were wrong.
There are aspects of Guardians 3 I wasn't a fan of. I know what they were trying to do with the Adam Warlock stuff. I don't think it landed as well as they had hoped. I don't even really. I disliked the casting they had for it, but after seeing him in the movie, I was okay with it. It's just like it's frustrating to watch his scenes because I knew where it was going. It just wasn't getting there fast enough for me, and I think they played him as more of an idiot than they should have. Because like knowing what Adam Warlock's supposed to be, it's just so far away from where he is now that it's hard to believe he'll ever get there.
I will say, in terms, I like the movie The Guardians was more.
Okay.
Which is not to say, let's just say like which one was a better movie. I liked Guardians more for the kind of movie that it was. I felt like Guardians was high and tight. It didn't, like you said, it didn't adhere to the canon, I guess, perfectly, but I don't need that.
Yeah.
But the movie was high and tight. It added it brought a conclusion to 3 movies worth of content, and it did well. This movie, the Deadpool and Wolverine, was not an end of a trilogy. It was, an event film. It was an event film, and also like a close of over a decade of movies, like an homage to
So was like 17 years.
Yeah, like an homage to a film studio, like so that it was, and in that way, it was kind of half event, half homage. It was good, but I'm just not. That movie doesn't excite me like a great story.
24 years he's played Wolverine. I knew it was a long time. That's longer than I expected.
I will say this though, I have waited. How long has he been Wolverine?
24 years.
I have waited 24 years for an actual Wolverine action sequence.
Yeah.
Because every other Wolverine action sequence was very grounded in reality. In every other movie where he's just like just like stabbing people in the chest and the knee and just like hamstringing people and stuff.
Yeah, it was not portrayed the way it is in the comics where he's just like a little dervish.
Yeah, in the comics he's just a monster, right? And so I really enjoyed like a full CGI monster Wolverine. Like you said, the dervish.
I think they really wanted to put that on screen because they have all of the stuff available. It's probably the last time he's going to be in that good a shape to be able to do those choreographies. And then, they did it in multiple different acts. There's like every act we have to have the Wolverine fight.
Also, not for nothing, but my favorite fan moment, even though there's just like a million fan moments in there, my favorite fan moment is as soon as I saw Daphne King again as X-23, as soon as she walked onto the screen, I was like, I'm going to love this. Please let her rage out little tiny girl power on something, and she did, and it made me very, very happy. So that was my big giddy moment whenever I saw her show up again. I was like, X-23, go kill things! And she did, and I wanted that.
Alrighty. Yeah, I think I put it in the same category as Guardians 3. Alright. Let's go ahead and get started.